Call this meeting to order at 7:02. Ms. Bell, can we get a roll call, please?
Good evening, everyone. Trustee Ojapinti,
Here.
Trustee Salahuddin,
Here.
Trustee Garrett,
Present.
Trustee Lee,
Here.
President Tejada,
Here.
and let's see if we have any student trustees.
Miss her.
Trustee Her,
Here.
and that is all I see.
Yeah. Okay. I think we've got AP testing this week, possibly. All right. Okay. Let's see. I see item number 7, approval of the agenda. With a motion or any changes, Ms. Preston? Okay. All right.
Move to approve agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Let's get a motion to approve the minutes. We have quite a few here.
So moved.
Second.
All in
Actually-
favor? Mr. Ojapinti?
I haven't reviewed the minutes, but I may have amendments to it. So per the last time we were approving minutes, I will submit any amendments or any additions on clarity of what I said, but at a later date. Otherwise, I can do it later.
Okay, so there's a motion to approve the minutes. There was a second. We will vote. All in favor? Aye. And then if you have any changes to minutes, you can bring them at a later date for an amendment.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. There was nothing to report out of closed session. And now it's our favorite time of the year. Favorite time of the month is we've got our April 2021 Student of the Month from Thornton High School, Ms. Basuino.
Yay. So I am going to pass this off to Dr. Marenko, who will be leading this event. Thank you, Dr. Marenko.
And thanks, Ms. Basuino. And good evening, everyone, members of the board, Ms. Presta, Ms. Basuino, Ms. Baca, Ms. Van Raphorst, everyone here. Thanks to the Thornton staff that are here, Carla Lacar, Ed, and Key for being here. And I want to give a special shout out to the Thornton staff and in particular our teachers in honor of Teacher Appreciation Week. Thank you for everything that you all do for the Thornton students today and before, as well as a shout out to all the teachers in our Jefferson Union High School District. Happy and Feliz Teacher Appreciation Week. So with that, it is an honor every year to acknowledge and recognize one of our students who embody not just the spirit, but just the character and the actions of a Thornton student. And those character traits include, but are not limited to, perseverance, grit, determination, and just the will to want to make things happen, not just while as a Thornton student, but as they transition into young adulthood. And what I'd like to begin with is by sharing that the Jefferson Union High School District Student of the Month program recognizes the outstanding achievements of our students at school and in the community. The Student of the Month is selected by teachers and administrators for exemplifying an outstanding degree of academic achievement, leadership, and community consciousness. Each year, only 6 students receive this honor out of the 4,300 students in our school district. Tonight, we recognize the 2020-2021 April Student of the Month, Thornton High School senior, Rogelio Alex Uribe, who is also joined by his parents, Mr. Broadbeck and Ms. Powers. And before we also again introduce Alex to you all. We have members of our Thornton community that also wanted to share a few words regarding Alex. So I'll start with Ms. LeCar, and then we can pass it on to others. Thank you again.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. And good evening to Alex and to Arabi family. So hi, Alex. As your homeroom teacher, I would like to take this opportunity to speak up and let everyone know how grateful I am to have you in my science class and homeroom. A young man gifted with skills and wit, a person that is driven with values and vision. I want you to know that all of your teachers are very proud of you for everything you have accomplished, despite the circumstances that we are in. Thank you for winning with us, Alex. I would never be possible without your dedication and hard work. You played your role very well, and because of this, Ms. Lekar and the teachers of Thornton High School would like to congratulate you on your well-deserved success.
Ms. Carla?
Kind of hard to, go after Miss LeCar there. I didn't write anything. Good evening, everyone. Hello, Uribe family. I'm Carla Talkoff. I'm the School and Wellness Counselor. And it's such a pleasure every year when we come present our Students a Month to the JUHSD Board of Trustees in the community. Alex came to us from Oceana and, a whole year behind and graduated 2 quarters early and had a 4.0 GPA at his last quarter at Thornton High School. We are so proud. He worked hard even through the pandemic. And I'm just really so proud of you, Alex. And I'm hoping that you would attend our graduation. And mom and stepdad, I know you worked really hard too, because every time I went to homeroom, you were there with Alex. So I know that you're part of this, whole endeavor. So congratulations. And thank you, Board of Trustees, for letting us showcase our student every year. Thank you.
Ms. Gaines?
Good evening, everybody, and good evening, the Uribe family. I just am so proud of Alex. I met him probably one of his first days. His case manager from Oceana, Mr. Lukens, gave huge praise for him, and so I took him out. Him and Mr. Lukens talked music together and skateboarding and all these really awesome interests. And so we built this relationship, and just seeing Alex growth, being a part of the journey, and I'm just so proud of you.
Ed Lopez?
Well, I wish I could just say ditto, but that wouldn't be. I mean, I was lucky enough, fortunate enough to meet Alex prior to even him stepping on foot on our campus before he came to the Wilderness School. And suffice to say, there was a lot of reticence on his part coming to the Wilderness School. But once he got there, and once we got him on the trip and to complete the trip, he just turned totally around. And I'm really proud of him to see the progress that he's made. And him graduating early, he exemplifies everything that we want out of a student, and to take full advantage of both our programs, Wilderness School and THS. So congratulations, Alex. Thank you.
Alex, we're going to turn it over to you. If you wouldn't mind sharing, that would be great.
Hold on, Mr. Ranko. I didn't want to interrupt everybody, but he's on his own phone trying to get loaded in from the parking lot at the mall. So, and I'm calling, I don't know, I called him twice and he said he was having trouble with the app and it wouldn't let him in and wanted to update or something. And so what he really said is, Mom, I can't do this if you keep calling me. So I don't know. And I keep looking here, hoping that he's getting on, but whatever is happening is not, it does not look like it's letting him get on. So I was like, I had the feeling.
That's okay, Ms. Powers. And just for everyone's information too, Alex he's hard at work. He is working, so he was taking some time off his work schedule to be with us today. If it's all right, Ms. Powers, I do have his summary that I can read on his behalf, and
Okay.
I won't even get close to saying it in Alex's voice, but I will do my best.
Thank you very much. I'm hoping he'll get on here shortly, but I hesitate to call him again while he's trying to do it.
No, that's all right.
Oh.
That's quite all right. All right.
Okay. I will
Okay.
mute. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, Ms. Powers. All right. If you all will indulge me, I will attempt to locate my inner Alex, and here we go. My name is Rogelio Nicholas Uribe III. However, I prefer to be called Alex. No, I know none of my names are related to Alex, but as a third grader, it was important for me to develop my own sense of self. So I picked my own name. In all honesty, I've always been opinionated, loudly so. However, it became clear at a young age that I was not only opinionated, sometimes I was disruptive in class, had trouble focusing, and often couldn't stay on task or concentrate. By third grade, I was diagnosed with ADHD, followed by a diagnosis of generalized anxiety disorder in middle school. Depression made me feel hopeless, like I'd never achieve anything or be anybody. The impact of these issues on my education were pretty heavy, resulting in failed grades, frustrated teachers and parents, and tons of skipped school. I didn't want to fail, not at all, and not at life. I didn't want to continue the downward spiral into some inevitably tragic conclusion like a bad straight to DVD movie. But I didn't know how to pull myself together out of the spiral alone. That's where my IEP stepped in. I was really appreciative of the lightened workloads, the extended due dates for difficult assignments, accommodations for testing, and personal counseling. Lizelle, the therapist that worked with me from the beginning of high school, taught me how to advocate for myself and helped build self-esteem. She worked with me and my parents to help us understand each other and to remind us that we were all on the same team, Team Alex. Lizelle was the first to introduce the idea of the Community Environmental Education Program, or otherwise known as SEEP, Thornton High School's SEEP program. My experiences with SEEP helped me see my education in a new light with new perspectives. In pursuing my education at SEEP, I had to overcome some intimidating obstacles. Sometimes those obstacles were very physical, like dangling 30 feet in the air suspended with a harness and ropes when those heights made me crazy nervous. Some obstacles, though, were deeper and less obvious, like learning to depend on others and work together as a team to keep each other safe and to succeed through the course. But I learned that I could depend on others. More importantly, I learned that others could depend on me to help support them. Over the last couple of years after SEEP, my interests have expanded. I enjoy hiking and camping, kayaking and paddleboarding, even whitewater rafting. It's liberating to acknowledge that I can survive without social media and a phone tethering me to every toxic opinion on the internet, because validation of myself doesn't come from those outside sources. I prefer to be hands-on and out
Mr.
in the world.
Marenko?
Yes.
Dr. Marenko?
Yes.
We have a notice from Alex's family that he is getting on now,
Okay.
but we don't see him yet. Yes? Okay. So Alex, if you would like to continue where Dr. Marenko left off, or do you want to start over? Let's hear you start over.
Hey, Alex.
Hello. Sorry.
Hi.
That's okay.
I'm in my friend's car right now. I won't joke,
Congratulations, Alex. We were just.
Hi,
Hey,
Dr.
Joko. Hey, folks. We were in the middle of continuing to honor you, Alex, as Student of the Month, and
I'm very proud of
I was through your bio and your story, and a couple of suggestions, either you can start, I can continue where I left off, or any other.
Where did you leave off?
I left off where the paragraph that starts over the last couple of years after SEEP. Or you can start over if you'd like.
Okay. I'll just pick up where you left off.
Okay.
Over the last couple of years after SEEP, my interests have expanded. I enjoy hiking, camping, kayaking, and paddleboarding, even whitewater rafting. It's liberating to acknowledge that I can survive without social media and a phone tethering me to every toxic opinion on the internet. Because validation of myself does not come from those outside sources. I prefer to be hands-on and out in the world instead of being stuck inside playing Skater XL. I'd rather be at Soma or in the streets making anywhere in my skate park. Basically, the world is my playground. One can only play, world is a playground one can only play on if you're out in it. There you go. Sorry. Otherwise, you may as well look at pictures of playgrounds. It's true. I want to continue playing in the world, exploring and learning from new friends and new cultures. I want to travel and talk to people, understand how we're similar and different. After graduation, I'll attend a massage therapy apprenticeship through Jupiter Hollow Massage School because the opportunity to be a healer has presented itself, and it's something I can take with me anywhere and everywhere. Honestly, the world always needs healers. And in this way, I feel I'll pass on some of the healing I've received from all my opportunities, the programs that have helped me grow, and the special people that have supported me along the way.
Members of our community, please join me in congratulating our April Student of the Month, Alex Uribe.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yay, good job, honey.
Thank you, Mom.
Congratulations to your family as well. I'm going to open it up to our board members if they would like to say anything. Mr. Ojapenti?
Yeah, first, congratulations, Alex. Congratulations. It's always good to see, students achieve things, but also to express those things in humility and to own your accomplishments like that. It means a lot. It's inspiring to your peers, I can see, and also to the people that, are working at Thornton and Wilderness, to put that together. So just glad you were able to make the most of it and you're still doing that, keeping that spirit in mind with the rest of your community, because you're right, you don't need, an internet full of, other opinions and toxic ideas necessarily to hold you down. You can hold yourself down, and you can also, in the good way, hold yourself down and do that for your peers as well. That's
Absolutely.
amazing. Yeah. Congratulations, man. Keep it up.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Salahuddin?
So first, I would like to say welcome to all the Thornton crew. I love you guys. You guys always show up, and it's amazing. And next, to Alex's family, thank you also for being here, for your continued support. And through all of you guys, Alex is here today. And my last thanks is to you. I mean, just hearing what you had to say, that's one of the most important lessons you can learn in your life, is to know yourself, because people constantly try to label you. People try to tell you who you are all the time. And to be able to push through that and define who you are yourself, that's massive. And I'm extremely proud of you. You've never met most of us, but we all are pulling for you, and we'll continue to pull for your success. So congratulations. I hope you don't forget us to come back, work here, do things. We'd love to see more of you.
Absolutely. I would love to help out and be around as much as I can.
Thank you. Mr. Lee?
Alex, congratulations. Fantastic words that you shared, especially that last bit about the world always needs healers. It absolutely does. For you to gain the wisdom that you've shown us just this evening and in your statement, in your time here so far, is remarkable. So I have no doubt, absolutely no doubt, you are going to be an amazing success in this world, and you're going to give back more than you've even received so far. So thank you for sharing your heart with us this evening, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, I was going to say something, but I think everybody's pretty much said everything that I was going to say. So congratulations, Alex, again. And you are definitely a testament to all the hard work and dedication that the Thornton, staff and school that, just try to meet students where they're at, and definitely congratulate your family support, that, all the hard work that they put into you, Alex, to get you where you need to be. I mean, that's the most important here. It doesn't matter where you're at, is the support that you get on your journey. And you definitely have a long, incredible journey ahead of you. So, we are very inspired by you, and do hope that you come back to our school district and talk to other students about all your accomplishments, and know that they can do the things that you can do despite all your obstacles. So
Absolutely. That's another thing that I really wanted to focus on, was letting the future generations know that it's not as hard as it looks.
it is actually hard, but you're just making it look easy.
Hard, but it's like,
I can be a testament to that. So
to people who are scared of getting their proper education, I'd say it's definitely a lot more intimidating going up on it at first. But then once you start making your way, once you start getting through it, like at the pace that you need to be going, you realize that most of the difficulty was just all the extra work that you kind of just let pile up and you never really realized. If you stay on it, you stay caught up and you stay up to date, it definitely takes off a lot of the workload.
Presta? Ms. Presta?
I just did what I do in a meeting at least once or twice a day. I started talking while muted. Alex, I just want to thank you for sharing yourself with us tonight, and for sharing yourself with your teachers and the staff at Thornton. I hope that you take some time to view this video later, and I'm really glad you were able to log on, but before you logged on, there were some really beautiful things said about you. So I hope that you go back and listen to those. And congratulations, well-deserved honor.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Alex. So I want to congratulate you, your family, the Thornton family, most of all you, Alex. Reading what you wrote is so inspiring. You're an incredible writer. You have this amazing voice. It is so real and accessible and honest and exposed, and just talking to you now, you're all about truth. And I have learned so much from reading your writing and from talking to you right now, because I'm going through a few things myself, and you have helped me, because you've said the world always needs healers. And just how your outlook is right now on how to succeed. I know there are going to be great things ahead for you. I am dying to see you come back and share your wisdom with the future generations here, and just to keep us apprised on what you're doing, because you definitely make us proud, our entire school district, and you're another Thornton success story. So congratulations again.
Thank you so much. My friend's phone is getting low on battery. I must run back to the charger.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Thank you guys for all the nice words.
Thank you, Alex. So we're going to move on in the agenda to the board report. And I'm going to start with our student trustees. Yeah, Alex, your family, you can, you don't have to stay for the entire meeting. You can go about your evening. But thank you so much for being here. It meant a lot.
Thank you very much for having us, and I'll show him the video later so he'll catch all the first part.
Okay.
Thank you
Great.
very much, you guys, like being patient waiting for that.
No,
Yeah, thank
thank
you.
you.
Sorry
Thank
about that.
you. No worries.
Have a good evening, guys.
Have a good
All right.
evening.
You guys have a good one.
So I'll start with our student trustees, Mr. Murphy.
Good evening. At Terra Nova, I think the biggest news I have to say is for the seniors. Our leadership class has come together and figured out a plan for they're calling it a mask and mingle as kind of as a stand-in for our prom this year. And we're all very excited. Not all the details have been finalized or released yet, but it's going to be, just a social event held at the school following COVID guidelines, but just a way to kind of celebrate this year, celebrate our class, and at least, have some sort of celebration. So I think I'm, really proud of the leadership class for organizing that. And I'm really happy to see how it turns out. So I think that's kind of the biggest news. Other than that, we're having more students return to campus, which is nice to see. And in-person AP testing started this week.
Thank you. Ms. Hurt?
Good evening. Right now, I know some students are studying really hard for AP tests, for the ones who chose the more recent date. And the teachers have given really good resources to practice and prepare. And they have also been really lenient with the dates recently because we're getting close to the end of the year. And they also set dates for students to turn in late work. Oceana had the first online rally recently, which was successful, and students could participate in a Kahoot and play music games with ASB. And ASB is also starting to think about end of the year activities to replace prom. And graduation is May 26th, and rehearsals are on the 24th and 25th. And I think that is all I have to report for tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Abuzalaya?
Good evening, everyone. So at Westmore, it's Celebration of Education, or Teacher Appreciation Week, and student government has some things planned for that. And I guess, since I'm talking about it right now, I'd just like to thank all the staff members at Westmore and just in general the Jefferson Union High School District, because it's been a difficult year, but the staff have done a really amazing job of accommodating students and just being really understanding with our needs and being really kind and empathetic. And so just thank you to all the staff out there. And then other than that, the other two student trustees have mentioned, in-person AP testing has begun. So some teachers are reviewing, most AP teachers have started reviewing since they've made it through most of the course material, and trying to get as much done for the students who are taking the AP test in person. And other than that, we're nearing finals, so it's kind of the home stretch of the year. Definitely an interesting year, but we're almost to the end. So that's all I have to report.
Thank you so much. I'm going to start with Mr. Ochapinti, board report.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all the student trustees on the report back. It's nearing the end of the year, and as a teacher, just kind of focusing on education at the end of a year and a half of all this is exciting to see that things are seeing a shift and some changes. So excited for the rest of what we have. Good to see that students who do feel comfortable returning to school are able to interact and get involved with things. Of course, not just sports, but any other kind of activity. So it's good to hear that. And for all those that haven't returned or are not choosing to return yet, I totally understand too. One of the things I think, moving through this year for all of us is to consider that has been a long year and it's not over yet, but that as we move through it, we're moving through it together, wherever we're at. And so, yeah, that said, also, I just want to echo what Dr. Marenko was mentioning earlier, Happy Teacher Appreciation Week. I think it's important to appreciate everybody all the time, but I mean, there are a time and place for everything. And I think one of those things is just to recognize the contributions of our educators and, you know, really all of us, you know, playing a role in that, but especially those who are educators in our schools. That said too, just looking at where we're at in terms of COVID-19 and getting through with the vaccine campaign, President Biden did announce that we are entering a new phase of that, looking at the progress nationally, although internationally, we know that a lot of people are still dying because of COVID-19. We know that with vaccinations increasing, that infections are dropping. And so San Mateo County is not in the yellow tier yet, but San Francisco is. So just to be mindful too, because we are seeing increases of people being out and getting vaccinated, that, you know, we're still, you know, mindful of those who are essential workers and are still working, who may or may not have received the vaccine yet. But that said, that we are seeing that progress. In addition to the speech that President Biden gave after his first 100 days as president, it was good to see that there is a lot of optimism in where we can go as a country at the federal level and of course at the state and local levels with respect to the American Jobs Plan Act and kind of where we're looking at in terms of reimagining not just certain sectors of our society like policing, as we've seen from the recent shooting and killing of Roger Allen here in Daly City, and of course many other tragic deaths across the nation, but, you know, in regards to the environment, in regards to healthcare. And so keeping that in mind as we're closing the year, looking forward to everything we're doing. And just to make a special note too, I was at the city council meeting recently, and they did honor our student trustee again, student trustee Madeline Hurd. So congratulations again on being the poet laureate. Well-spoken, very powerful words. And of course, thank you for sharing those with the community and empowering your peers and using your voice to make a change out here. Thank you.
Ms. Salahuddin?
Hello, thank you. So I had some really, well, a lot of different meetings. The ones that I'll highlight is that with other members of the San Mateo County School Boards Association, we spoke to Senator Becker some more to talk a little bit more about equity, especially in the terms of talking about return to school and the messaging that he's using to be a little bit more equitable, and the drive to, there's a lot of talk about forcing students back into school, and just to use the word force, like that's not the right word to start with. So just having discussions about that, especially in terms of legislation that'll happen next year for students. The other thing that I did was we had a panel, we organized a panel with some other great stakeholders in special education who are also people of color. So I thank everybody from the district that joined. I was really happy to see a lot of you guys there. And it was really just like a powerful moment in that I wish I had done it earlier. I don't know why I've not done that earlier. And thinking about myself being a mother of a son who's of color and has special needs, never seeing anybody that looked like me talk about the issues. So I'm glad that we had that discussion, and I was so thankful for the other panel members that joined me, including my own son, who I was super proud that he was able to speak and talk about his experience. And hopefully that's this is like an ongoing thing, and we have more of those moving forward. Yesterday, I went to our student advisory meeting and the plans to interview and start the process of picking our new student advisory council. So I'm really excited about that. And last, it is teacher and staff appreciation. There's a lot of appreciation for educational workers that are happening this month. And, you know, I posted to social media, but just to reiterate that here, like this year has just been impossible. You know, it's been extremely, just for a lack of better word. And sometimes I feel guilt being here and voting for things that affect everybody, administrators, teachers, staff, with the amount of work that we're asking of you. And so I feel like it's kind of refocused me on how I need to be the best board member I can be as possible, and to not get tired and to continue to advocate, because that's what everybody who works in this district deserves. So I am extremely grateful for all of the work that everybody has done through this entire year. I'm so proud of what we have done with the amount of resource that we have, what we've been able to do. When I'm always blown away when I see, like, when I go to food bank and I see teachers and staff members working food bank. I have teachers and staff that help me and parents that help me with testing. And just on top of the stuff that is the normal day to day, what everybody does on top of that, so that we can just keep moving as a district, is incredible. So I'm eternally grateful, and thank you.
Missing Garrett?
I can't really top that. So
It's not a competition. We'd all lose to her.
only because she is definitely echoing all the sentiments that I feel about our district. Just the student of, just talking about Alex, just reeling from that still. He is a testament of how our district can provide and support and close the gaps on student achievement and meeting them where they're at. So I definitely want to thank and appreciate all the teachers and staff in our district, and we're working so hard to get the students to where they need to be. I know it's a struggle all the time, but I'm also especially happy for the seniors this year that they're going to be able to graduate in person. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. So I will leave it at that. So thank you.
Mr. Lee?
I just want to say again, thank you so much to all of our teachers and staff. It's been quite the year, and we've said it so many times, but I just want to say it again, especially this particular week, for all the incredible amount of work you have done to continue to educate our students from your living rooms, from your kitchens, from dens, bedrooms, wherever the case may be. Just really grateful for each and every one of you for continuing the work of educating the 4,000 plus students of our community. It's amazing work that you've done. And then to be back on campus now and to be able to continue to do that work with some students on campus, some students at home, to finish out the year. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't think any of us here can say it enough. So on that note, I will just leave it there. And actually one last little thing. It's, with it being Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, it's been, it's taken on a slightly different meaning this year. And, I've had the fortune to be able to do some work with my colleagues with regards to Asian American diversity and what it means to be who we are as people of color in our workplace environment, and to be able to share some of the stories that we all have. Pretty powerful. I will share well, I've shared it on social media if you see it. There was a little video that some of my colleagues put together about how to say their name. Very powerful 4-minute video, and the meaning behind their names and the pride in which they share about why their names mean the way that they are, mean the way that they do, and it's powerful. So if you have a chance to take a look at that, I would encourage you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. So much going on. That was a powerful presentation that Ms. Salahuddin and the other members, the family, and Kareem were on that panel. It really showed me more about what people with special needs go through and what their parents go through, and not being heard and having to fight. And some of these are moms who are fighters and they did not know what to do. And if these women don't know what help to get for their children, what chance do other people have? So it was not lost on me. let's see, I also, this year's been crazy, more than a year now. And I just want to thank all of our teachers and staff. For the immense work that you've done, you continue to do. I was able to join the AP Gov class last Friday to watch Mr. QB's students present their soapbox speeches. And most of them had gone already, so there were only 3 left, and they were pre-recorded, but they were on racism and policing, and their voices were so strong. And I can't stress enough how important student voice is to us, because I get to work with the Student Advisory Council. They're amazing. But when I hear other students speaking up about, I worry about my little brothers if they're going to get stopped by the police. These are very real to them. And also they do research on the various federal, state, and local legislation that is out right now on policing and AAPI hate. And so I learned a lot from that. Just all the research that they pulled together on that. It was amazing. And so while Mr. QB was talking to the screen and he had his mask off, there was a knock at his door. And he said, "Come on in." And a student came in, Mr. QB put his mask on, and he taught to one student in person and the rest online. And that student participated. And this is our world right now. And I also want to thank, on a personal level, the staff at Jefferson, because this has been really stressful for my daughter. She's been able to maintain an A average, but it's been a struggle for her. And teachers are looking out for her. They are sending social workers to her class to get her attention. And she finally shared that with me. She doesn't tell me, it stresses her out when I ask her about school. So I am part of the problem. So there are trusted adults out there who are taking care of my child and helping her with her mental health. And she was able to talk to me more about what the problem is. But she can't wait for the school year to end so that she can get back in person in some way. She said, "Mom, it's got to be better by then, right?" I said, we're going to try our hardest, but I know that, a lot of students out there are getting help from all of their teachers, no matter what school. But I've been able to, I'm a little stressed these days, but I've been able to feel a little relief knowing that there are trusted adults out there who my daughter turns to. So on that note, I am going to move on. Actually, I do want to say one more thing. And that is, I know that we have had some very spirited back and forth conversations, discussions in the last few board meetings. And I don't want people to misconstrue that as us not being a good board, because we're a stellar board. We have our own opinions and we have our own personalities, but we all believe in JUHSD and what is best for our students and our staff. I think we just need to hone in that unity of purpose. And I think that we can find that during, a governance work that we can do during the summer. But what I wanted to do, and you'll see later on, we pulled up some board bylaws that that we should be following, and I think for the most part we do. Just as a reminder to all of us. Now I'm going to move on to the superintendent report, Ms. Presta.
Thank you, President Tejada. I want to echo the sentiments of the board members in thanking teachers, classified staff, and administrators for Employee Appreciation Month. We do have a resolution later in the agenda, but we're really lucky to have such a caring, dedicated, and talented staff in JUHSD. So I just personally want to honor and respect and really thank everybody for unwavering service to our community. I want to mention that I attended, so thank you for inviting me. I attended the Westmore Book Club last week. They're reading Grading for Equity by Joe Feldman. So I'm especially proud of, and there are many people in our district reading this book right now, but it was great to attend the meeting. I wasn't able to stay for all of it, but I did get to be there for quite a bit. And just the conversation, the depth of conversation was really heartening and great. So I'm just really proud of them and thank them for being invited. I want to congratulate Jefferson High School. They, the WASC, they received a 6-year accreditation status with a 2-day mid-cycle visit. So that's through June 30th, 2027. That's great news. So I wanted to publicly congratulate them on that for their good work. I've been visiting school sites each week with Monica Casey, and it has been awesome. I realized that I'd never been to the bus garage. So, you know, I've been to the school sites, and so it was great. I met some of the people at the bus garage. We visited Westmore. So I'm going to continue doing this and of course visit with principals, et cetera. But it's been really nice getting out there into our school sites and our sites just to meet people and to thank them for working so hard for us. It's been really nice. I wanted to just kind of give a shout out to everybody who was involved in messaging out that we had a vaccination site that we had 400 spots for vaccinations for our students last Thursday. It is so important that we get vaccinated. It's really important for the whole community. And as these things come up, sometimes we get prior notice and sometimes it's only a day, but we're gonna try and get that information out to you as we get it. So I wanted to mention that. And then finally, I'm just really happy that we're having in-person graduations earlier this year, you know, mid-year. We really didn't even know what was gonna be happening. So it's so nice for the kids. And I just wanted to announce the date. So May 25th will be Westmore and Thornton graduations. May 26th is Jefferson, Oceana, and Terra Nova graduations. June 4th is adult school, and June 22nd is adult transition. So of course, you know, students and parents at those sites will be getting that information, but I wanted to announce it here. So thank you. That's it for me.
Thank you. Ms. Casey, the AFT Local 1481 report.
Okay.
No.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Like everyone said, I'd like to give appreciation to all of the staff. I appreciate especially those of you who have used the term staff. We have, as the AFT 1481 president, I represent what we call wall to wall. I'm just trying to explain this a little bit to everyone. And so I pretty much represent everyone except for the administrators. There's very few other people and the cafeteria staff. And so when you say, I hear a lot of people say teachers, 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 and we have a lot of staff besides the teachers. I just want to remind everyone of that because it's been one of the things that ever since I started, I want to say at Thornton, it really has been, you know, because Thornton is such a small group and we truly all are educators, every single person on that staff. And so I want to remind everyone to start maybe using education staff instead of just saying teachers, because when we say teachers, we leave off a lot of the staff, the counselors, paraprofessionals, office staff, that although they're maybe an office staff member, they touch the lives of our students in so many ways. Some of those people really feed the soul of our students and are so important. So I just wanted to mention that when we appreciate our staff, to think about all of those people. In the past month or so, I've been to a lot of CFT, our parent organization, our CFT. I've been to Division Council, a President's Retreat. We had a special education summit this past weekend. And I hear so much from other presidents and other areas of what they're getting and how much money they're getting for COVID relief and this, that, and the other. And as much as we're always getting less than everyone else, because it's all tied to the formulas of where we are. It's all tied to that. And it is like, oh, look at, we're getting some money for COVID relief. And then, you know, the other presidents on the Zoom are getting 3 times as much. And I said, well, how many students do you have? Oh, about 4,000. What? How? So I just want to remind us all that it's not equitable in our state, in our country. And I don't know how to make it any more equitable, but again, I appreciate us working to try and bring some money into the district. I also want to thank Ed for at the board meeting. I think it was a work study. I was at the food bank, working at the food bank, trying not to get run over by the cars on Mission Street. It's funny because when I give something to someone to read, I think a lot about it before I give it to them. I do a lot less writing previous to the meetings when I'm going to speak myself, but Ed and I talked about it a lot, and I wanted to make sure that, you know, a lot of my ideas were put forth properly. So I want to thank Ed for reading my statement. I also want to thank my executive board for all the midnight emails that I send out, and then people actually respond to me, giving me ideas or the backbone with the open heart. You know, we do responses, emergency ideas, emergency votes, and this is all unpaid. I want to thank the negotiations team for their time and energy. Again, their backbone, their strong backs and open hearts. You know, we know what's reality in our district. So we, you know, we have to think about how to make this place really important for people to stay here. I have 3 people that are resigning this week, 3 young people that can't stay here. And it, you know, these are good people, and we train them. Maybe we train them for 1 year or 2 years, and then they say, I got to find someplace else to go. So I just want us all to think about that. All our students that are hearing this, all our families that are hearing this. We're losing some good people. We have wonderful people. That's not to say we don't have wonderful people. We do. I've been here forever. I couldn't leave and make what I make somewhere else because I'd lose years. But of course, if there was a magic way that it's kid in college, it's rough. And you know, we're a 2 adult working full-time household, and we're still every month pulling from our savings every month. So I can't even imagine being a single person, new staff member. And then I see that there's other places that I can go. I'm going to have to make that decision. So 3 people. So congratulations to all the students that are getting to be on campus. We've been seeing a lot of students and they're very, very sweet. It's so sweet to see them on campus. And to the seniors that are going to be able to graduate together, hopefully. And I have hope for next year, but I'm not going to write it and write it down yet. So I'm sorry that's so long, but I just needed to say a few things. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're on to the consent agenda. Let's see, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Okay. All right, on to public comment. Do we have any blue cards?
We do have public comments tonight.
Okay.
So I just want to set a reminder that there's a customary 3 minutes. I will give you a warning when your time is up. And that is all. So I'd like to call the first speaker. Sorry, give me. It is Alyssa Jenkins.
Hey. So can you guys hear me okay? Okay, good.
Yes.
So first of all, I wanted to thank the board for agreeing to meet in person in solidarity with your teachers who are in classrooms, in person, in rooms full of unvaccinated students, in person. And I do have to notice that although the board voted to join us in that solidarity, not all of our board members seem to stand with the teachers as we go into those classrooms. And it does feel like that maybe can only be seen as do as I say, not as I do. And it doesn't feel very good. So I just wanted to put that out there because hybrid teaching is the worst of both worlds for the teacher. It's good for the students, but it's the worst of everything for us. And so for us to go in person, it warms my heart to see that my board, well, most of my board feels the same way, that if we're going to do it, they're going to come with us. The second thing is that I watched the proposal for the EIR to the Daly City Council meeting, and I was struck that a board member who was representing our board, not as a private citizen, but said our board, that we were, quote, in a good financial place. If we're in a good financial place when I'm making 50% less than the school district next door, when you just heard Monica Casey say that our teachers can't afford to stay with us, I don't know what you define a good financial place as. Okay, it can't be good when your teachers can't make rent. And I understand that we're building teacher housing, but you're also proposing a redevelopment of mostly not useful land that could put financial stability on the map for our district and put raises for our staff, create good union jobs for our community. And so when you advocate against a project that would help build that sort of financial stability, our last great chance at putting some money in our coffers to maybe level that playing field, what you're doing is acting against the oath that you took to put our best interest, our students and our staff's best interest when you took a seat on the board. When you're on a school board, you represent the students, the staff, and the community. You are one with us as our leaders. And so when you advocate against a project that would help us financially while saying that we're in a good financial place, yet we can't pay rent, while we're looking at other districts getting raises that are twice or 3 times ours, it's not a good feeling, especially not when you're a teacher. Thank you.
Thank you, Alyssa.
No, we had talked before. She's not giving 30-second warnings that the timer's up because it interrupts the speaker. To not give 30-second warning.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for your comments again. Next, we have Eric Williams.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eric Willemse. I'm a teacher at Terra Nova High School. I teach social science. I too also watched that board meeting with the Daly City City Council recently, and I was disheartened to hear Trustee Ochapinti say that our district was in good standing financially. And I remember a few years ago when the board came to each individual site to talk about our concerns, so many of us talked about, we were genuinely concerned about like our pay in relation to every other district in the peninsula and the Bay Area. So it was really disheartening to hear Trustee Ochapinti say that we are in good financial standing. This housing project is our best chance at essentially getting comparable wages for our staff members in the peninsula. And it really, you know, as someone who has put so much energy into this district without the compensation that teachers in other districts get, just it really hit me hard. And I really wanted to say that. That's really all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Williams, and I apologize for not mentioning your name correctly. Sorry, and you got cut off, sorry. Okay, sorry. Oh, gosh. Okay. Next, we have Jonathan Krupp.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you very much, members of the board and distinguished guests. I am speaking to you this evening to address some concerns that have been circulating among my colleagues that individuals in the highest echelons of our district are perpetuating falsehoods that could directly sabotage our district's financial future. It is no secret that we are the lowest paid district in the peninsula. I, for one, would be making $48,000 a year more if I were teaching the San Mateo Union High School District. I stay in JUHSD because for me, the pros of being here far outweigh the extra pay. That being said, neither myself nor any of my colleagues would pass up the opportunity to make extra money. The Serramonte Del Rey project, development project, seems like the godsend that we've been waiting for to, at the least, shrink or hopefully end the regrettable and glaring pay disparity that has plagued our district for years. I acknowledge that no project is perfect. However, I cannot help but ponder why anyone would want to attempt to disrupt this project. Disturbing this project directly jeopardizes the faculty working within this district and their fiscal futures. The pros of this project and its end results far outweigh the cons. I don't know what the underlying cause of this distortion is or why it has been spread around the community in the way it has. These individuals claim that they speak for us as teachers. If that were actually true, they would realize how vital this project is in more ways than one and do everything in their power to spread that message throughout the community. Please end this multi-pronged misinformation campaign so we can move forward as a district into a better and more financially stable and equitable future. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your comments. And next we have Mr. Carsazes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sean Carcazes. I teach AP European History, US History, and World History at Terra Nova. Go Tigers. I'm speaking tonight to address something that was said by Nick Ochapinti during a Daly City Council meeting a few weeks ago. All right. Now, what I thought was said was very unsat. And what I mean by that is you are speaking as a representative of our district. Okay. Now, as you speak in this way, discussing our financial issues or lack thereof, accordingly, what you're really doing is you're causing more strife for us. So first off, I get it. If you don't like it, you totally have the right for freedom of speech, with the exception that with freedom of speech, you have to be talking for yourself. Okay. All you have to do is say, in my opinion, in my opinion. Now, Are we financially well off? No, we are not. Okay. At least I hope that's the issue, and it's not that we are not getting paid properly. Now I look at the other counties, or I look at our other schools in our county. We're the lowest paid district in our county. San Mateo Unified, for a fourth year teacher, which is what I am next year, makes $81,000 a year. Our district, I'm going to make $54,000 a year. 54. Okay, fine. I could pick up summer school, make another $5,000 doing that, and it brings me up to $59,000 a year. If I compare that with South San Francisco's pay, I would make $63,000 without working summer school. This is unsat. It's unsat. Now, not even to mention the fact that we had to work our asses off to pay for Measure Y, 5% pay. That equaled $2,700 a year. Myself, my wife, and my colleagues had signs on the side of the road so we can make a measly 5% pay. And I don't think you realize how degrading it is to have people from your town flip you off because you're asking for a decent wage. Now, what I would say to you is this. If you're going to speak your opinion, that is your opinion. That is your right by the First Amendment of the Constitution. However, if you are speaking for a representative mass, speak for them. Thank you. That's all. Chabot.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Carsazes. And last, we have Melissa Ambrose.
Good evening, you all. Apparently the video made its rounds to the staff. So I'm just here to speak to say that right now we have 4 open mental health positions, and I've had many people email me and ask me questions about the positions. And when I say, will you please look at the salary schedule before you continue the conversation with me, the response is about 90% of the people don't get back. So I too feel concerned about the idea that we're financially well off. And then additionally, Trustee Ochapente, I feel really concerned about the claim about the need for green space, because my understanding, and I am not an architect, is that when I looked at the plans for the new area, there was a tremendous amount of green space. In fact, quite a bit more green space than there is presently. And so I feel like that, I feel concerned about that. And it felt to me when I looked at the plans like very accessible, lovely green space. So I wanted to just sort of put that out there. And really just from a wellness perspective, I feel concerned right now about the relationship that the Daly City Council has with our families and our students, particularly because of the racial climate in the country and policing, and that this particular issue to become a fight in Daly City feels toxic and feels concerning and feels confusing. Like right now, my deepest desire is to support our staff, our students, and our families, is to support our district in having the best possible equitable education. And unfortunately, we don't seem to be able to change the federal and the state government fast enough to really help them understand deep equity. And so it's hard for me to consider anything that would move our staff and our students families away from more resources, from more educational opportunities, and from more services. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Ambrose. And that is all the speakers we have for tonight.
Thank you. Now we're on to our discussion items. 14A1 JUHSD Wellness Counselor Update. Ms. Baswina.
Good evening, President Tejada, members of the board. I am going to introduce our coordinator, Melissa Ambrose. We're doing the wellness,
I'm here.
Right? Yes.
Yep. But
Okay.
I have to have the presentation, right? Did we just, am I doing that or?
Yeah, you're doing the presentation.
Okay. It's going to take me 2 seconds to get it pulled up.
You want me to? No, because she's got a.
Sorry, you guys. I just thought I was ready and then I wasn't.
No problem.
So I am going to share my screen, and I was asked to give a little update about what's going on with wellness in the district right now. So I'm going to share my screen, and I wanna, so I go to present, right? I'm not the most technological here, you guys, just so you know.
Yeah, go ahead and press present.
There we go.
There
It's
you
one of
go.
the great things my job is.
You're doing great. We see it.
Excellent. We've come a long way then. I want to just say that I am not capable of making pretty slides. And so Denise Shreve helped me a great deal with this. She's excellent at it. So I just want to give her a little shout out. Pretty slides was not in my job description. Thank God. But wellness updates are. So I just want to let you guys, I'll go through the slides, and then I think there's time at the end for questions, and we can talk about it. Okay, so now, there we go. So here's my little, came out of Oceana. So we teach our students to let people know where we're going in a slide presentation, and also not to put millions and billions of words on slides. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what's been going on this year. And then I was asked to give some data, which I will do, but I'm going to also talk to you guys about how complicated data seems to be, and also some great possibilities. I am going to talk to you a little bit about the MHSSA grant, Mental Health School Services Act grant, that JUHSD is a pretty large recipient of. And so I think it's been coming in your updates, but I've never come specifically to talk about it. Some great news around that. And then basically where we're going to move, like the direction for next year. So you guys, I'm not going to read this to you, but our wellness team has gotten like basically doubled in the last couple of years, which is really a beautiful thing. And at this point, the only schools that have a solo person, a solo full-time staff, are Oceana and Terra Nova. But we were able this year to have a wellness intern. So that's an MFT, MSW, or professional clinical counseling master's student at each one of the schools. And then each one of the schools also had a clinical psychology intern who primarily served the ERMS, educationally related mental health services, connected to IEPs students, but also served other students that did not have IEPs. And so we had a really robust, team. And one of the weird silver linings of the pandemic is that the wellness team, the staff members, met every single week this entire year. And it was kind of a beautiful, extraordinary thing. And I'm going to be sad about letting go of some of that meeting time next year, assuming that we're back in a more embodied, physical, present way. So that's who we are. This is a little, we made this, and we'll put this on the web. I'll just quickly show you guys this. Before April Hawkins left, she helped me make a flow chart that we'll put on the web and then give. So this just like shows you, I don't want to take up your time right now going over it, but it just shows, not you guys, but one, like a parent or a student, how wellness works. And I'm saying wellness for all the mental health. So I'm using it as a sort of stand-in. So how students get referred, what happens once they get referred, who they might get referred to, what kind of assessments we do, and then what are the outcomes of that assessment and what kinds of support we have. So that's a fun little flyer that we made. Again, not my expertise, so with help from folks in the district. And then I just wanted to let you know, how do I go back? There we go. So what we've done during distance learning with students and their families, you guys all know this, so I won't spend a ton of time, but we've done predominantly what's called telehealth. So we've been Zooming, we've been Google voicing, there's been some texting, which is not our favorite way to work with kids, but it is definitely, we'd rather access kids than not. We've had wellness teams and wellness and school social workers pushing into class, sometimes to grab a student. Sometimes that's the only way we can find students. We've had a lot of lessons in classes. So the wellness folks have been really trying to expand how they reach students. So a lot of giving what we call psychoeducational lessons. We've been producing parent and family workshops, as many as we can. And so giving a couple examples. There's one this Friday that's an immigration clinic. I hope you have all seen the flyer. It's a really amazing, Carla Steele from Jefferson put together kind of an extraordinary event. We've had rental assistance clinics and things like that. So we've been working really hard at reaching the community and really reaching the community with what they need right now, not with what we think they need. And then in hybrid, we're doing all the same. And then some wellness counselors and school social workers are having sessions with students, and they're really enjoying that. We have home visits if needed, and if it's not a crisis situation. I don't think very many of those have been done, but it is a possibility. And wellness counselors and school social workers are meeting kids outside, or if there's a big enough space inside. And so it seems to be like everybody's very excited about students being back and people being back on campus. That's a big positive that's happening right now. And it's too early to tell, and the numbers of kids at school are too few to know how much that's going to impact how many kids are seeing wellness. So I was asked to present data, which is a really great thing, and we should be doing a lot of data. And I went looking around and was finally able to articulate why data is maybe particularly hard for me, but hard in our particular system. So it's hard to document in Synergy. Not hard. One has to document accurately in Synergy in order for our data to be accurate. So when 10 people are logging in Synergy and then 10 interns, I have a manual, I have a total to-do guide. It has little pictures for like how to log. It doesn't mean that that's being done consistently. I mean, people are doing it as best they can, and I nag them as much as I feel like is tolerable. And then until like a few days ago, the wellness folks were having really major difficulty pulling reports. I'm a little bit embarrassed that this is on the slideshow because I went to Corrine and she wrote a Synergy query in I think like 2.5 minutes, which is the Synergy query we have wanted for years. We're not asking the right questions in the right way to get it. And so Corrine and I are working. She's teaching me amazing things about working with Synergy. The last piece of Synergy that I didn't put on here that's complicated is that some of the data we want to collect is highly confidential information about students that we do not put in Synergy. There's a lot we do not put in Synergy because we are a FERPA entity. We are not a HIPAA entity. And we want to really protect minors' rights, and we want to protect mental health. Like people don't go to see mental health people if they feel like their business is going to be shared. So Corrine and I are working together about some possible workarounds around that. I've been doing some meetings with my colleagues in partner districts. So April Torres at San Mateo Union High School District, and then a colleague who now works at San Francisco State around ideas about how to do this within FERPA so that we can get the right amount, the right data that you guys would like to see, and I think the community would like to see, but without having it be identified with individual students so that we don't harm their confidentiality. And then the middle box is just about when I went to get data, I was cracking up because it was like for several years, Sally Payson Hayes was in charge of collecting data, and she collected it a certain way. And then she collected it differently each year. So the data is not comparable. So like when you change what you're collecting, you are comparing, I put apples, oranges, pineapples, and grapes. And then we've had different numbers of wellness counselors and interns and different collection periods, sometimes once a semester, sometimes once a month, sometimes once every 3 months. And then different people who were doing the reporting. So sometimes the wellness counselor did all the reporting and gathered the information from the interns. Sometimes the interns did their own reporting. So it's just when I started to really look at it and started to try to be honest about data, because right, you can say whatever you want and you can make it say whatever you want, but to be super honest about it, we have not had consistent collection. We've had collection, but it hasn't been consistent. So my goals are just, and Corrine is helping me a lot. And I just want to just, again, like we are so lucky we have someone who understands data the way that Corrine does and who's willing and patient to work with someone like me, who is not a data genius by any stretch of the imagination and probably drives her bonkers. So, Yes, exactly, Dorian. We just, so streamlined, but I think we're coming up to some amazing possibilities. She's teaching me how to do incredible things in Synergy, and there's a possibility of another mechanism to collect it, another sort of web tool. And so we're working on it. And then the county, the mental health school services act grant has an off, like they were required to collect data for it. So this is all coming at like the perfect time, right? So data is happening, and they say they're going to help. And they're also offering as a universal screener so that we'll know more about students, and we'll just see where that goes. We'll roll that into whatever we do. So the future looks promising. And what I'm going to ask you guys is just to be patient, because all this takes time to develop. And what's most important to me is that it's meaningful to you and to the community. I don't want to be puking numbers out that are meaningless. So what I love is feedback, like this is what would be meaningful. I'd like to see this. This is what, so just a little example of what seems meaningful. Karina and I, when we were looking at the initial, after she made that amazing Synergy query, we looked at Jefferson very briefly. And what's incredible right now is that Jefferson mental health staff are seeing students in the same ethnic proportions, ethnicity and race proportions of what's reported on the dashboard. It's almost identical. So that's wildly, I would imagine, unusual, and I would have had a different, like if you would ask me, Melissa, subjectively, what do you think? I would have said something different. And so I was really excited to actually see that I was wrong. So that's pretty cool. So whatever's meaningful, you will all give me feedback and the community as we move along. I am talking way too much. So here's our present data. It's not the most, in some ways it's not the most meaningful because between 10 and 15 people were reporting. So I decided to do numbers since August because I gave you guys some data in November, but it didn't seem like it made sense to parse out November to now because it's not the same time collection period. So, so the total number of students attending groups looks like it's 228. Again, I'm not 100% sure. The number of students receiving ongoing counseling is 63. It looks like we've had 744 contacts with school staff. We've had over 1,000 direct sessions. We've had, if I put on the no-shows, like sessions that were scheduled and then kids that didn't show up, it would be about twice that. And I think that's just distance learning. I think it's just the norm. At least 509 parent guardian contacts and 311 SAT 504 and IEP meetings attended by mental health staff. As far as our reporting, we've had 7 bullying harassment cases, which is way down, and that's because I think we're not in school. We've had 15 CPS reports, which is also down because we're not in school. And we've had 20 other law enforcement kinds of reports. Generally, our law enforcement reports that are not directly related to what's happening in the home are directly related to what's happening either interrelational teen violence, partners that are being violent, or sexual violence in another way, unfortunately. Why will it not advance? There we go. We've given at least 71 referrals to mental health agencies outside of school. So that would include Care Solace. And then we've had 61 referrals to other agencies, predominantly the core service agencies. And that's predominantly right now for rental assistance. Our families, what they really need right now is rental and utility bill assistance and food. And then we've had a lot of contacts, over 200 contacts with outside professionals. So that's a big portion of our job. What am I? Okay. This is data that we do collect regularly in the same way every year. So our suicide risk assessment data, and I was able to make charts that Denise made pretty. So we've had fewer assessments than we did, in a regular school year by far, but we've still done 52, which is hard to do digitally. It makes us all very uncomfortable. put it that way. So I just broke it down by school as far as the assessments. And again, these numbers to some degree, well, are sort of interesting. Like Westmore, I think, is our largest school, Westmore and Jefferson. And so Westmore has fewer, but I think they always have fewer. And then by grade level, and I was actually quite surprised to see it pretty split evenly between 9th and 11th. Often it's 12th grade. So I thought that was very interesting. Gender, I was also surprised to see that female male were almost evenly split. Because sort of like in the mental health world, we often think of suicide as more female in the teen years. In the adult years, it's more male. So it's interesting. And then I didn't break the ethnicity down by what our district, I didn't compare this to our district data, but this is the ethnicity. I didn't label that little 3. I don't know what that little 3 is. I can find that for you. I apologize. This one right here. So that's our ethnicity and race data. And then just so you guys can see where the referrals come from, meaning why are we doing the assessment? And what's very different this time is the parent guardian percentage. So this was a lot of emails and phone calls saying, I'm really worried about my kid. Not a lot, but more than normal, and fewer than normal of or another student, and way fewer than normal teacher or staff. And Monica, I apologize. I made this slide deck and I really respect your request that we use the word educational staff. You're absolutely right. And it's a bad habit to say teacher. And then this is our assessment risk level, high, moderate, low, and that's about the same. The vast majority of our risk assessments are become low when you really dig into it, the kids are at low risk. And we had 14 hospitalizations. And luckily, as far as I know, we have not had any students complete suicide, which is not true for many other districts this year. So here's my comparisons to last year. I thought it was important to put fall 2019 as a separate because we were not in the pandemic yet. And then 2019, 2020 is the gold total. Spring 2020, you can see how things went way down and then things came back up. It feels like we started to understand again, how to do all of this online. And then also, if you look at the gray bar, we're not done with the school year. And I'm grateful that our hospitalizations didn't go up. And again, we don't know 100% for sure because some students might have been hospitalized by a therapist or a parent, and we don't know about it. So really quick, the Care Solace is the organization that the county got for all districts where we can say a referral for therapy and they'll take on the hard work of finding the therapist and doing all the phone calling for the family. So really quick, I'll give you some very brief data. I keep doing something wrong here. There we go. No. Here we go. So hold on. Yeah. Okay. So I did the ethnicity. I broke that down for you guys. So the ethnicity breakdown is not surprising to me. That white families are seeking therapy more, as you know, all of you, that with the way that the country is built on systemic white culture and privilege, mental health is no different. I think a lot of mental health access and mental health delivery is not yet culturally humble enough for many populations. And I also want to say that the system of mental health has perpetuated systemic racism in many ways. I think we all know that, in the same way that more people are incarcerated, people of color are incarcerated than white people, more people are given heavy duty diagnoses, mental health diagnoses that are probably likely more what we're seeing are symptoms of trauma of systemic racism than actual symptoms of mental illness, and or they translate into symptoms of mental illness because over time. So it's no surprise that fewer families of color are seeking outside services. what I was happy to see was that that's not the case in the schools, that the students, all the students are seeking services. And so this doesn't surprise me. I mean, it doesn't make me happy, but it doesn't surprise me. So that was I felt like that was like the pertinent information about Care Solace data. I can get you guys the numbers if you want to know how many inquiries and how many warm handoffs and all of that. It's very easy to get that. Their dashboard has it all. And then so here is the good news for next year. So we have this Mental Health Services School Act that the county wrote with Behavioral Health and Recovery Services. So the County Department of Ed and BHRS partnered, wrote this massive, I want to say $5 million 3-year grant and got it. And in that process, the county was looking at equity and determined that our district, Jefferson Elementary District and Bayshore, were districts that had some pretty significant inequities. And so we got more from the grant than the other school districts got. So all the school districts are getting Care Solace or have it. All the school districts are going to get a universal screener. All the school districts are going to get help with collecting mental health data. All the school districts are getting basic SEL curricula. Our school district is additionally getting 3 new school social worker positions for 3 years. We decided to call them school social work positions, and I can explain all that at some point if you want. And so every school will have a school social worker. And the idea of a school social worker versus a wellness counselor is that their job would be to take fewer, way more high intensity cases. So if we had a family that was becoming homeless and needed a lot of services and needed kind of wraparound, needed someone to connect them with agencies, needed to do maybe a little family therapy, needed to connect with the grade schools or middle schools that the family's children were going to, that the school social worker would take that case, would maybe be working with foster youth, like a more intensive, and obviously would be there for crises. So now we'll have one at every school, which is really exciting. So we're expanding our team by 3. And Thornton will have 1.5, but everybody else will have at least 2. And I'll just tell you guys, being the solo mental health person at a school, not being able to say to someone, oh my God, I need to just run this by you. I'm consulting. Do you agree? What do you think? Am I missing something? Is this just my irritation with this particular student because they were mean to me yesterday? Like bouncing things off with someone is so helpful. And I think absolutely provides better service. So we'll have that. And then I'll provide clinical supervision. So we don't pay well, but the thing that my new position affords our district is clinical supervision, which means that people might come to our district because they're hoping to get licensed. And that's good for us. I think it's better clinical services. And so we're crossing our fingers. We're having interviews on Friday for a bunch of new positions. So that's one thing that's exciting. And then we're going to get this SEL curriculum. So there's 2 curriculum we're getting. The Connect with Kids is kind of a big giant company that makes SEL curriculum. It was one of the ones that the grant allowed every district to choose. They're making us a customized website. Any educational staff member will be able to go onto it and pick and choose the modules and the topics that they want. They say it's organized like Netflix, so you can look up bullying and then you can pick up the little modules, and they can also assign them to parents and families. It's all digital. It comes with pre-written curriculum that obviously a teacher or an educator can modify. It comes with training. So that's exciting. And then we were able to select our own curriculum for the 9th graders. And then the district decided, I'm sure you guys discussed this, that would also be wise to purchase that same curriculum for 10th graders. And I chose a curriculum called Project Wayfinder, particularly because when I researched SEL curriculum, a couple things. One, they're not normally made for high school students. They're normally made for K-5 or K-8. And then they all just say can be adapted to high school, to teens. And you all know that teens want things that are genuinely relatable to them. And so I didn't want teachers to have to work that hard. And I wanted people that really had thought about adolescent cognitive development and what adolescent needs were. That was number 1, why I chose it. Number 2, it's a small local company, although they're growing, they're becoming quite well known. So they're growing. And number 3, I wanted a curriculum that had deeply embedded social justice premises and research. And I wanted a curriculum. I don't know if any of you guys have done, like the same research on systemic whiteness in education permeates SEL curriculum. And so I wanted a curriculum that wasn't just written by white people. Felt really important to me. And it felt really important to me to find a curriculum that took the needs of young people of color in, adolescents of color, and also not adolescents that were living in urban environments and adolescents that were living in low income situations. So Project Wayfinder is going to happen for all of our 9th and 10th graders. Corrine and I and Doreen are working diligently with the principals to find the proper home at each school. And that comes with it training as well. And that's exciting. And then I went over that we have this huge wellness team. So we're going to have enormous amounts of mental health services on site. So hopefully not too many to get the teachers irritated. Next year, we also have 5 wellness interns, 1 per site. We'll have 12 staff, including me. And we will have Daly City Youth Health Center, which is part of our district, has interns, and they'll put at least 1 per site. And those interns will be able to also do home visits. And we've had a really strong collaboration this year with the core service agencies, Pacifica Resource Center, and the Daly City Partnership. And we'll continue to do a lot of offerings for parents and guardians. And beauty, another silver liner, and then I'll be done, is that we have finally mastered the Zoom presentation. We've mastered, now I think we know how to get parents and families much easier than bringing them to school on a Thursday night. I think we can continue to use some of this digital world and blend it to serve the needs of a lot of our families. So that's, and we really have been enjoying this year working with parents and guardians. So I think that was a long-winded presentation and I didn't time myself, I apologize. I think that's all my whole slides. Woo! Have to have a
Not long-winded at all. I'm going to open it up to our board members to ask any questions. Mr. Ochapinti, your hand's up.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Ambrose. That was really in-depth. I appreciate that. First off, it's good to see that our team's expanded. The fact that we'll have 2 people at each site, of course, 1.5 Thornton, it means a lot, I think, especially this year with all the issues that come up. And so just to point that out, because people have asked, what kind of wellness resources we have in the community. And when youth ask me, then I usually refer them to the Daly City Youth Health Center, of course, which serves our entire district, that we have interns there in addition to the interns being hired is really reassuring and good to see. That said, too, as a teacher in special education, we talk about social emotional learning a lot. It's kind of part of the course. It's good to see that this kind of curriculum will be expanded, and so that we'll have, our students will have access to that in more places. In addition to ethnic studies and the kind of things we're talking about, systemic racism and a lot of things that we've been addressing, I think, in the larger scope of social justice. A large part of that is mental health. So just in the interest of discussing those things, I'm glad that we have that moving forward, and I think it will be a big piece. I know at Paula Cedar, when I was there, that a lot of the work around restorative justice included these components, where we talked not just about health and wellness, but also about race, class, gender, and a lot of the issues that our community wants to talk about more, but that is part of our curriculum, I think, acknowledges that and affirms that. So thank you for that. I guess I have a couple questions. Is one, per your reference to FERPA and understanding people's private information, which is really important. It's something that's come up through COVID as well, because people accessing healthcare and through multiple providers. Are students and families informed about these concerns the one you raised here? Not to stress them out, obviously they come to us for us to listen and help, but are they informed about those concerns, and do they know where their information is being collected or protected and shared, potentially between different, say, interns, or if they know at all, this is just between whoever they're talking to and themselves. And the second thing is with the outside referrals for resources, whether it's rental or food assistance, what agencies are being referred to and in the area locally or even online, and where is our best success in those agencies providing those services?
Thank you for your questions, Trustee Ochapente. So the FERPA stuff is a nuanced answer. I'm going to try to condense it. Wellness, and all the mental health people, I'm just going to call the wellness team. We can see students in crisis situations or up to about 3 times without having what's called a consent form signed. So every time a wellness individual meets with a student, they tell them what is confidential and what is not. And most of them have a big poster up in their office. And in another time, I'm happy to share that material with the board so that you can see what's confidential and what's not. So after the 3rd session though, and often interns are seeing kids ongoing for therapy. The school social workers are working with them a little more intensely. A wellness counselor, let's just say they do a CPS report, will follow a kid until they feel like that situation is stabilized. In those cases, we have consent forms signed, and we offer in our district, per state of California law, both minor consent and parent guardian consent. So the wellness team member works with a young person. So all of our students are over 12, so they're all eligible for minor consent. There's several conditions that need to be met in order to receive it, and they make a decision about what's the wisest way to move forward. So many parents and guardians sign parent guardian consent for services, and in this crazy piece of paper that has to be 14-point font and only on one piece of paper and say like 400,000 things, so it's impossible to keep it one page, even though that's the law. It says everything about what you just asked for. And so the wellness counselor's responsibility is not just to hand that paper over, right? Because that's not informed consent, is to go over that paper with the minor and or their family to make sure that everybody understands what it is that we're talking about. So I think that answers your question. The bigger issue really is where mental health laws and education laws hate each other. They hate each other and they're in constant conflict, which is why you'll hear me say HIPAA versus FERPA. And so the wellness team we have to walk a tightrope because we're FERPA entities, but we're all trained and we deeply believe in confidentiality and minors' rights. So we walk a tightrope. We put as little information as possible that is still legal and supportable by county council into Synergy. So we do not put details. So if a mandated report is made, we say mandated report made to the appropriate agency. So if you were to, and again, there's 10 individuals doing Synergy conference notes. So you're going to have, they're not always have our crazy Synergy manual in front of them. It looks different. And sometimes people put more information. But once a mandated report is made, though, confidentiality doesn't exist anyhow. But if we meet with a kid for just a regular session, we just say met with student. That's it. Because of FERPA, because that information legally belongs to the parent or guardian until that child's 18. So I think I've answered that question. And then your second question, the 2 agencies we've worked most closely with this year have been Daly City Community Service Center, which is part of the Daly City Partnership, and then the Pacifica Resource Center, because those are the core service agencies, meaning if we have a family that needs rental assistance, that is homeless, like if we need to get a support for a family that the state or the federal government is going to step in and give more than like $100 Target gift card, we need to go through those agencies. And so we've done as much as we can to streamline our relationship with those agencies. They are inundated right now. As you can imagine, the need is staggering and heartbreaking. The state's dedicated right now to keep housed people housed, which I think is really wise. But we have to be homeless during COVID is so complicated. And so we have individuals at both of those agencies who know me and know members of our team, especially the school social workers at Jefferson and Thornton. And we just kind of sometimes call them directly. We do a little bit of nudging our way. I don't know if we're skipping line, but we push. And then we've also done, our school social workers have held rental application assistance nights, like literally helping families. The rental assistance, there's a lot of money out there for rental assistance right now. There's a year's worth of back rent, but you have to be very diligent and you have to speak English well and you have to have all your documents in order, and it's very difficult. So many families just give up. And so having our staff help them with the process has been really beneficial. And we'll continue to do that. That will be something we hopefully improve on and continue to do. And our core service agencies are really grateful because they only have so many staff, right? So and every family that comes to them is a crisis, and every family that comes to them is worthy, and every family that comes to them has a heartbreaking story, because there's human beings that are not having their basic Maslow hierarchy of needs met. There's nothing cheerful about that. So I think those were both the questions. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Ms. Saladin?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Ambrose, for the presentation. Yeah, it was very helpful. It helped me really kind of see the full picture. I'm super excited about the grant and the number of mental health professionals we'll have on campus, because I know that's something that students have asked for a while. And just moving forward, I guess it doesn't have to happen right now, but just one of my asks would be, if the grant wasn't to renew, like what is the financial cost of the district to maintain? Because one of the things that I hate, especially in education, is that we build up and tear down, we build up and tear down. And this is something that I don't want to tear down. I would like to keep up. So I know that I don't know what the renewal for the grant is or what that process is going to be like, but just so we have that information, not saying that it's something we could do, but it's just good information to have. And then on the data piece, I do understand it's complicated, but I think what you said about Jefferson for me is great data to have, because what I don't like to do is to make decisions based on anecdotal and just from what I know from visiting. It's nice to have more concrete data to back up decisions, and also to use in advocacy. Because I think, there is a real lack of understanding of how big a role mental health and the mental health services play in education right now. And so when we talk about it, it is sometimes some of our legislators are a little bit flippant about their response when we're asking for additional funding for this specific area. They're like, well, we gave you money, just find it in what you have. But I really think this is something that needs to be funded outside of what our general funds are. So that's the other reason why it's really helpful when you have specific data and how it plays into key neighborhoods. And then to also knowing the additional work, like with the social service work and how many students we help through rent, gain access to rent assistance and stuff. Like all of that is really helpful to know, because they are always like, well, how come this money is just sitting there getting unused, right? And especially for rental assistance and things, the county and both the state are confused about how come more people don't have access to it, and just being able to tell them how much work that we had to do to help get access is nice. That's okay. That was very cute. So this was a great presentation. I'm very thankful for all the work. I'm excited to, like, in a year, hear how everything went and how everyone was utilized, and hopefully get another report in a year, just how everything went. So thank you very much.
I want to thank you, Kalima, for asking, because you sent me into this amazing, like, I've always been frustrated about the data, but I didn't, because I don't know data. Well, like, I'm not a statistician, and I don't, like, I didn't go get my PhD in social work particularly because of data. And so it helped me ask the right questions. Here he comes again. Sorry, this is what my cat does. And it was really, really helpful, Kalima. So thank you so much. I feel like I was finally able to ask Kareen the right question to get the right help. And I'm excited. You know, I'm excited about, like, I do think it's important for us to show what we're doing. I think it's really critical. And I think when Kareen and I looked at that data about Jefferson, I felt so, we have the most amazing wellness team, you all, like extraordinary people, truly. And what they hear every day. And I don't know, we don't, I think they're also taking beautiful care of themselves. I think we don't have a ton of secondary trauma. I think we have some, but not a ton. And that's a testament to their resilience and their willingness to take care of themselves. And so when I saw Jefferson's numbers like correlate with their student population, like they're reaching a broad swath of that student body and they're reaching them well. So I'll look at the other schools and I'll give you lots more stuff. But I really want to thank you, Kalima, because it helped me understand what I didn't understand. And then it helped me ask the right questions. And now, like Kareen can tell you, I was so excited. Like it's so exciting. It's super fun. And it's cool. It's going to be cool. We're going to be able to look at this stuff in a different way, which is really great.
Good. No, I'm glad. And like I said, a lot of this is, I like to be data driven. Before, data driven used to drive me crazy. But now, I really, being a board member, that was when I was a parent. Now as a board member, I really, really understand the importance of it, especially when it comes to our equity work, because we have to defend everything we do. It's insane. Like we constantly have to defend everything we do and how we spend the money. And so it's hard to argue with like hard data that really shows the facts and helps us tell the story. So I'm excited about all of this, about every piece of this. So thank you.
Ms. Garrett.
Hi, Miss Ambrose. So I just, really quick, it is Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week. We absolutely do not undervalue the passion and the dedication that you bring to our district, because without you, you bring that social emotional part that the students need, right? So that they can actually be able to get their education and close that gap. Because if they're not mentally healthy, then how do they focus and how do they achieve the goals that they need? So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And I only have really one question. I know that Thornton, because they have less students, they always, they receive less staff, but sometimes I feel like we do not want to undervalue those students as well. And if they need that extra help, that we're able to provide as much wellness counselors that, that the other schools do, even though they do have more students. So is it, I guess, justifiable that they do have less wellness counselors there? Like, is that okay for them, or do they need more? And this is what we are able to support them with at this time. And that's all the questions that I have. But thank you for all your work. Really do appreciate it.
I appreciate that. Thank you for appreciating us. And you guys all know I would love to just do social emotional stuff with young people and not do any educational stuff, because I think it's all the same. But I don't know the answer. I mean, Carla, it is true. Sorry, Trustee and Garrett, it is true that Thornton has fewer staff because of the numbers. But we add, so this year, was it last year? This year we added a school social work position that Key Gaines took. I haven't heard from Key or Carla. I don't know if Carla's still on the call or not, that they're feeling like they're drowning. They do have a wellness intern, and then they have the clinical psych interns, and we'll put Daly City Youth Health Center interns there. So I think it's just a really important thing for us to consider as we move forward. So I don't know. I think that's my answer to that. Yeah. But thank you for asking it.
Mr. Lee.
Thank you. Another great presentation, and actually just for me, just a statement, just one, thank you so much for all of the work that you and your team have done this past year. of course, in the craziest of circumstances. And I'm very excited to see what we are going to be able to do. I mean, the grant is quite amazing, and to be able to really beef up what we will be able to do to serve our students the next 3 years will be quite remarkable. So again, thank you. I look forward to seeing what we as a district will be able to achieve to improve the mental health of our students in the coming years. So thank you.
Did she disappear? Oh, there she is. Oh my gosh. Hi, Melissa. So I thank you so much for that very comprehensive update. And it really was an update. I'm also, everything that Ms. Salahuddin said about data, you know, we're constantly having to defend and justify what we do. Oh boy. And then when you get down to, you know, that Project Wayfinder that you're talking about, the curriculum, and how thoughtful you were in choosing the curriculum, I would think that there could be a portion of our community that may not appreciate that as well as the whole of us would. So, but I think it's super important in our equity work. And I would think that, so how, so this is a curriculum that's supposed to be sustainable year to year. Yeah, so we just build on it. Okay. And boy, I think for us, I guess one of my questions is, no, it's just a comment that the additional services, that wellness is related to everything that a person has to deal with in life. And that especially during this time when people are cooped up together and children have to work, and that you've got not just housing insecurity, but food insecurity. And I mean, my daughter tells me about her friends, and one of them is a great student, and she was happy to go back to school in person in one way, and that she doesn't quite feel safe because she's not vaccinated, but her house was just too crowded, and it was just too hard, you know, with I guess there's several adults, and she was the only child in that house, and she said it's just too crowded. There's nowhere for her to study. She's constantly being asked to do chores. So she couldn't really be just a student and a child. And I just want to thank the wellness team that for, you know, I kind of feel, you know, I'm the school board president and I don't know what's going on with my child. You know, I had no idea she had a panic attack. She told a friend who told a teacher of theirs, who immediately reached out to my daughter, got a counselor. My daughter missed an appointment because she was busy. They kept reaching out to her through all her teachers and helped her. And I did not know about it until she said, I'm going to be late for my appointment. And I said, what appointment is that? So that's when she told me she's really stressed. And on the exterior, she's this funny, well put together kid. But she admits, you know, this pandemic is just, she said, I think she said, I was already having these, you know, insecurities before COVID, and now this has just made it worse. So I think for us, as far as communication, which is something we always struggle with for as long as I've been on the board, you know, we need to communicate just how big and vital our team is, and that we're answering the call, and that you're answering the call, and that we're finding ways to help our students and families. Because I know our student trustees, our student advisory council, this has been a big thing for them. But we're not good about sharing that this is what we're doing. This is how we've took what you said, we took what we've gotten from other surveys, and this is how we're, answering the call. So I just want to thank you so much for this great presentation and everything that you do for us and the entire team. My gosh, can't say it enough. You're heroes. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. The last thing I'm just going to say is that my secret mission, which is now not secret because I'm saying it out loud, the more well adults are, the greater impact they have on the young people. So there's research that shows that a staff member who has like a really well-regulated nervous system has a far greater impact on their students than a staff member who's dysregulated and teaching mindfulness. So I love the kids. It is painful for me to be in a position without them. It's very difficult, but I am very clear at this point in my career that if we don't help our adults, our families, and our staff members, and you all, our admin who work, they're just work, and our union president, like if we don't help us figure out how to be well despite the fact that the world isn't well, we're not going to have well young people. And so yeah, I could go on about that, but just so you guys know, that's always operating in my mind, is that the more healthy our adults are, the more stable, the more regulated, and the more compassionate our adults are, the greater the impact is going to be on the young people. And we all know that from examples in our own life. So I super appreciate it. And I'm also looking at the time, and I love to talk, and I want to respect your time. And I think you're going to be here until midnight based on the rest of the agenda. So thank you very much for listening. And thank you for asking for the presentation.
Thank you.
And I'm going to go and leave you guys till midnight.
Thank you. I want to actually move back up to our consent agenda, where we voted on an appointment, and that was that we appointed a new director of nutrition services, and that is Danielle Sweeters, who is not a stranger to our district. But Danielle, thank you so much for hanging in there with us. If you'd like to say a few words.
Yes. Hi. Thank you for letting me join the team. And I am really excited to be on board with everyone and try to make a difference in a very positive direction and really listen to what the students' needs and desires are and put my best foot forward in working with everyone.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, you can leave now if you want.
It was interesting.
Okay.
It was
Thanks. That's great.
Hey, Danielle.
Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to 14B, and that's a hybrid instruction update. Ms. Presta?
Thank you, President Tejada. So in speaking with the executive cabinet, we have been doing presentations at the last few board meetings because there were lots of updates to give. There really wasn't a lot of new data to share. So what we decided is that there aren't updates from each of the associate superintendents. I'm just going to kind of provide a little bit of an overview, but then this is a discussion item. So if you have any questions or anything like that, we can all, address what your thoughts are. So one thing that I know that you wanted to find out was kind of how many students are back. And so we've got 9th graders, 11th graders, and 12th graders back in hybrid instruction so far. 10th graders come back next week. We do have some 10th graders. There are some sites that have allowed some 10th graders to come back to hybrid instruction before they were planned because they had the room and the willingness to do that. We've got 713 students already back, 210 at Jefferson, 156 at Oceana, 209 at Terra Nova, 23 at Thornton, and 115 at Westmore. And we opened up for the second round where they could opt in if they hadn't already. More kids are going to be opting in, and we estimate that by the end of the year we will have about 917 students back on campus. The feedback has been really overwhelmingly positive. I've shared this, I think, in prior meetings, but I really have been on all of the campuses talking to staff and students, and of course we talk with the principals and vice principals about what they're seeing. And what I've shared is, I think some people were reticent to come back, especially among the staff, and the students who were reticent, clearly haven't returned. So, but really the overwhelming message has been just happiness to be back. I will share with you that last week, we've been having our executive cabinet meetings, even though the executive cabinet has been working full-time on site for, several months. I mean, October probably. We still meet on Zoom. And then last week I said, would you guys just like to meet in my office like we used to? And people said, we could hear you laughing from the hallway. You guys are having too much fun. And I feel like it was when we all returned to the board. It's just the difference in the energy in the room, talking with your peers was great. And today the same thing. I think Monica knocked on the window, just like, you guys are having too much fun. So it just has been really good, and that's the same kind of energy that I've felt throughout really all of the campuses. So certainly there are bumps in the road, but I think overwhelmingly it's been very, very positive. So with that, if you have anything that you wanted to ask about, and we may need to look for the answer if we don't have it tonight, but that's okay. But we didn't have really anything different to share with you. Things are moving forward as we planned, and things are going really well. So I'll open it up to you guys if you have any questions or comments for us.
None from me. Mr. Ochapente?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for constant updates, Superintendent Presta. I know it's good that we do have this on. I think really every agenda we have been addressing that obviously over the last year, and I think part of that is because it is relevant, right? Is probably the most important thing. As educators, we're talking about it all the time, even understanding how we're going to transition through hybrid. And so just to say, I think that is our number one priority, obviously, being education and working around the circumstances that all of us on this planet are working with, making sure that we can deliver that in the best way possible is always priority. So, if you don't have a lot more updates today, it's fine. But I think ongoing that it's always something that we're going to talk about. So I'm glad it is there. That said, I do have one question. I'm just kind of curious. So how many of our students, I know there's a limit obviously to how many we're going to be, allowed to return, but at certain times, but how many have opted in percentage wise and how many have opted out at this point?
So I don't have the percentage. I have the raw numbers for you, or the ones that I just shared. 210 at Jefferson, 156 at Oceana, 209 at Terra Nova, 23 at Thornton, 115 students at Westmore, and that makes 713 kids total. And Ms. Baca just shared, is that at the end of the year, Ms. Baca, that it will be 22%? Yeah, so by the end of the year, what we're expecting with those 917 kids, that's about 22% of our student body in the district.
Right on. But yeah, I was just wondering how many had chosen to opt out or opt in. But no, seeing that, 22% of our students is a lot of students. So just a shout out to everybody making this possible, both online and offline, because yeah, teaching online is hard. I get it because I do it. So I know, but doing it in person and, online at the same time is interesting to see how that's balancing out. And maybe, yeah, I mean, our student trustees can speak to it as well, better than any of us, I believe. But just interesting to see how that's working and how we're looking at summer school possibly. And that would be another question, of course, maybe further down in the month to see how that's working out. But yeah, thank you.
Okay. Wow, you know what? I didn't realize we had such a lot on our agenda. Anyway, so all right, so we're on to discussing our board meeting format going forward. So Ms. Presta, do you want to go over that with us?
Yeah,
or,
sure. Yep.
Or Mr.
I'm gonna start us. Oh, sorry, am I not muted? I'm gonna start us off, and then what we're gonna do is I will call on Ms. Baca to add things and Mr. Meyer to add things, and then we sort of just saw this as a discussion for us all to have, you know, in the meeting. So what we wanted to talk to you about was thinking about our board meeting format moving forward, both short-term and long-term. Like we may wish to think about changes to the board meeting format long-term. But for right now, you know, are we thinking of, so in person with remote viewing, and remote participation, which is what we currently have, right? We're in person, there's remote viewing and remote participation. The public could come and participate in person if they wish, but we are allowing remote. Rooming and Zooming, and something else. Some of the notes that we wanted to share with you is that we had increased public participation since we began using Zoom. So that might be something that we decide to keep doing longer term. We had been using Pen TV prior to this pandemic. They were recording and streaming it live for us. We have not gone back to using them because they're not working in person yet. So that's just a note. We talked about perhaps having a webcam for streaming, an in-house webcam. We talked about perhaps having the public call in for public comment. We talked about, is it PCTV? PCTV? Pacifica? Yeah, Pacific Coast. Yeah, great. PCTV might be an option as well because Pen TV isn't working in person yet. We wanted to discuss publicly the idea of wearing masks or not wearing masks if everyone is vaccinated in the room. So just kind of all these things. These are discussions that we have in executive cabinet, that I have at agenda planning with President Tejada and Vice President Lee. And I want to publicly, again, give accolades to Ms. Baca and give accolades to Mr. Meyer for really, honestly, when I am in meetings with my fellow superintendents and they share the struggles that they have had, everybody's doing their best. And, you know, not to disparage other school districts, but, you know, they've had some bumps in the road and we have not. And that is completely because of the effort that was front loaded by Ms. Baca and Mr. Meyer to make sure that we had the right technology. We have headsets, you know, we had everything set up and they did dry runs before we did it. So we haven't had any big bumps. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So with that, these are just some of the big ideas. I know that Ms. Baca and Mr. Meyer have done more work since the board agenda was actually published. So I wanted to call Ms. Baca to see if there was anything that she wanted to add before we just have the discussion. You're not. Technical difficulty with the microphone here. Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah.
Okay. So when the board agenda came out, you know, I woke up and started freaking out, like, what are we going to do? So we started to really think about this. So Saturday morning, I, drafted something in Google, like, Jake, let's try this out and this, see if you would work. So there's a couple of options that we may look into. So the first thing is, what I'm hearing is that we don't want to continue to use the headset. It's been, a barrier muting and unmuting. And I'm also hearing that one of the priorities is also to broadcast, like, in the past, so that the public can view our board meetings. And also another priority that I heard from the meeting is having our attendees to be able to call in and not have to be in person to participate. So with those things in mind, there's a couple of things that we thought about where we will still use Zoom as the a way to broadcast us, and we can share the presentation. We can see it here. But what we do is we turn on the video in the Zoom, but the audio goes to actually a phone connection. And the phone connection will have different microphones attached to it, and it will be placed throughout the room so that we can be heard. So that will be our, instead of the microphone in your computer, we will use the phone. And public comments can also be called in. So it will come through the phone also. And there will be minimal setup, and the cost will be the Zoom webinar fee, which is about $1,400, and a couple of microphones that are $70 each. So we've tested it out. It actually worked pretty well. We have the recording. But one area that, that may be, kind of tricky is that it would be best if, of course, everybody is here in person. If we have to, we can still have, somebody at home if we have to, but that's when we'll have to, wear the headset. The other option is having somebody come in again here, either Pacifica TV or Penn TV. But what we haven't tried with them, because we haven't really tested it out, is, the ability for Zoom callers to call in. And there's just a lot of unknowns right now because we haven't really tried that. The cost I know in the past had been $500 a month. And so, and then the other thing is, of course, the setup of the microphone, the setup of the camera in the back. And so those are the kinds of things that we are exploring. I don't know if Mr. Meyer, you want to add?
So, yeah, I reached out to Penn TV, or I'm sorry, PC TV on Friday, and they came out Monday and did a site walk. So they were excited to kind of try and put something together for us, because they think that, a lot of other organizations are going to be ready to move forward with this. So it sounds like they're going to work hard on a proposal. I don't expect to hear back from them probably till the end of this week or next week. And one of the issues we ran into with the phone solution for all Zoom audio is that as soon as you get about 5 feet away from the microphones, you can still hear voices, but some of the room acoustics come in. So it's, we're going to have to test it out basically. And we could do, some extensive testing before we decide to go that route. But that seems like at this point, that would be our best possibility for not having headsets on. We tried using the speakers that are in the boardroom, and as soon as you unmute your mic on a laptop, the audio feeds back from the speakers. So that's definitely not going to work. There was just a bunch of feedback. So that's pretty much it.
And I will say, we wanted to have this public, we may want to leave it as is for a while, and not make changes, but we're kind of looking ahead. And I think also just sort of taking into account that we've had some really good public participation because people don't have to come and sit here all night. And so I think, thinking about that too, like more towards the future. So we kind of just wanted to open it up and see what the board is thinking.
Mr. Ochapinti?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad this is on the agenda. It's definitely something that I've been thinking about too. For those of you watching who don't know, I am at home I am not meeting with the rest of the board at the district office. This question was asked at the county level, and our county public health officials stated that as long as we are essentially under COVID, the blueprint for a safer economy under California Department of Public Health, and of course, county health and just other guidelines, still strongly discourages meeting in indoor settings, especially for multiple households and for long periods of time. This is going on 2.5 hours, more if members were in the closed session. So being in the same room, just kind of what I expressed before in a prior meeting was, if we're meeting indoors, understand the act of solidarity. However, is not directly aligned with what we're asking students, teachers in our schools. So in the interest of safety and the abundance of caution that we are working with, of course, in this moment and everything that we're doing across the state to make sure that we get through it intact, I would consider waiting till after June 15th to consider some of these things, but it's good to talk about it in advance. As a teacher, I, like anybody else, am required to report in person when that is required. At the high school level, this is not being done in a lot of high schools, as we know, in our high school district, but I do think it's important. I also think it's very important to be masked, to have a mask on indoors. We're seeing this even in stadiums as major events open up. So in the interest of health too, I would encourage that. So that's, I think, the first thing I would say, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but I do think it's important to maintain what we have in terms of our recordings through Zoom on YouTube, the cost being what it is at a minimum. Like that to me is maintaining that, expanding that and putting it, broadcasting on TV as well, and looking at ways for people to participate through calling in to expand civic engagement is absolutely a great idea. I think that we should have more public comment engagement in more of our meetings, and we should be able to share as much public information as we can in as many ways as we can. And so I totally support that. I look forward to all offers or proposals. If we have a local agency who is interested, I think in the interest of supporting local agencies, it's always a good idea to see what they have to offer. So that said, I guess my only question would be, are there any proposed changes to our current Zoom and YouTube setup? Or would this be maintained as a minimum and then adding to that? Or like, what do people think right now, since we haven't made a decision?
Yeah, that's what we're talking about right now.
Right.
Mr. Lee, you were on a county call that I can't relate that, but as far as
there was the most recent one, but 2 weeks ago, it came up in the chat from one of our board member colleagues, I think at Sequoia. It was read by County Manager Mike Halliday, and he turned to I think Dr. Curtis Chan, who's I think in the public health department. The question was, should city councils and boards, when should city councils and boards, et cetera, return in person? Dr. Chan basically refused to answer the question, and Halliday said that they're leaving up to the discretion of the individual agency as to decide when to return, and that he himself said that the Board of Supervisors was deciding when they would do it. And I know in conversations with Ms. Presta previously that other school districts are considering it now, and we've had at least, and I think one other school district certainly has done it, although with some of the or some of the difficulties, I should say, with technology, as you alluded to earlier. So in my opinion, I think we should be, I like some of these ideas that Ms. Baca and Mr. Meyer have shared this evening. I think they are worth pursuing and at least continuing to test. And certainly, with the state targeting that June 15th date, I can't imagine that anything is going to be decided very specifically prior to that anyway, because we've only got, a couple more board meetings really before the June 15th date as it is. But I do think it is important that we are present here. I do realize that I think masks are probably, I'm fine either way, being a fully vaccinated individual, but I can understand that there could be some people who feel differently about that. So I'm fine either way. I mean, these are discussions that even in my own workplace we're having, right? So I think this is, I like the options that are being presented. I would encourage us to continue to explore them. Anything for me personally, I would just as soon dispense with the headsets sooner rather than later. But, because it's just that, when you're listening to somebody talk in the room and you have that delay, that's the only thing that's difficult. So anyway, so that's just my 2 cents worth.
Ms. Salahuddin.
Yes, thank you. So, yeah, piggybacking on what Trustee Lee said, I agree completely. That it would be great to get rid of the headsets. It's really hard for me. I'm dyslexic, and hearing the echo really makes it hard for me to concentrate. So, sometimes I will pull my headphones off so I can just hear the person in the room. But yeah, focus is hard. So if we could do something where we could have the headsets off, that would be great. I would also say that because this is the assembly, that's what they always do. There is a bill in legislation right now to see it to possibly require us to continue it. So I'm glad that we're having these conversations, because it may end up being law that we have to continue some sort of online virtual component, which I'm fine with. I just wish, it's always unfunded. So I wish it would come with some funding if they were going to do that. But if there was a way that we could, I don't know, whatever the proposal, we can see what PCTV comes back, if that's a component of their proposal, if we need to do it ourselves. But what I would like to see is the virtual component stay, that people can join virtually, give public comment virtually, but that we could have a singular camera that, we could use our laptops for what we were doing before, because now, to have the 2 screens too. So if we could have a singular camera and then a microphone, if that's a way possibly to do it, I would love to do that. But whatever works, but keeping the virtual component, I think is good, because we have had, not just with parents, but also a lot more students joining and giving public comment, because they could just join via Zoom and not come down here and then try to find this room, which is always interesting. The other piece is that, county health is a little disconnected from reality sometimes. So, you can't say that it's okay to go to a movie, but then tell us that you can't go to our meetings, right? So, they do, with business, they're saying you can open up, you could do this. With schools, they've been pushing open with schools. But then for themselves, because really, I think that's just the supervisors, quite honestly, that it was because the supervisors don't want to meet in person. That was kind of, county health gets kind of pulled by what the supervisors want to do. So, and then the other thing is, they come up with these arbitrary dates, June 15th, they're just like, everything's canceled. So, I mean, it's just kind of, nothing really seems tied to science. It's a lot of it is politically driven. And, city councils and county supervisor, the board of supervisors kind of dictate sometimes how things go. And I know a lot of them didn't want to come back in person. So that kind of drove the conversation instead of what the direction that they've been giving everybody else to do. So while I appreciate what Sarija and other folks had to say at the county, for me personally, I felt like if I'm going to vote and tell teachers to spend, while the students are moving around, the teachers are staying, and the staff, all our educational staff are staying usually in one place for the same amount of time that we're in a board meeting. So I feel like if I'm going to vote for that, then I'm not going to, as we said, I'm just not going to vote for something that I'm not willing to do for myself. And then also, my sister who works in Oakland Unified is back in person. And, I always think, I always try to be the board member. I wish my sister had somebody representing her in the way we represent our district. So that's my take.
Ms. Casey.
I wanted to mention that we have some staff members who are doing Room and Zoom, and they're doing a really good job of it. They've figured out extra cameras, and I just wonder if we could maybe emulate some of what they've done, so that what happens is the students that are in the classroom do not have to be on a computer and they can interact with each other. And then the people that are at home can see the interactions. And then, obviously they're doing breakout rooms and stuff that's a little bit different than what we're doing. But there's quite a few people that I've seen that have had a really good setup and they've figured out the feedback and everything. So I wonder if we can ask some of them. And I think it'd be worth it for us to try to do some of the things that we're asking our staff to do. That's one thing. And then the second thing is that there are classes such as ATP and the Mod Severe classes, for example, that have older students. The ATP is older, they're adult students, and they're in the same class with their same staff for several hours. And so, if, they're going to do it, then I'm going to do it. And so, they are adults and they are maybe unvaccinated students. And even though the staff is vaccinated, that we've told them that they had to come back with their students. And so it's really important for us to do that as well, in my opinion. So I just wanted to make sure everybody heard that from me. Thank you.
Really quickly too, I was also thinking about the new DO, and that is this something that we can be built into the new DO. So just thinking about that too, so that they don't have to worry about this. It's just something that comes with it.
Good idea. That's right. Yeah. Well, I think from what Miss Casey said, definitely let's we've got some educators who figured out a way to do that. I would love to get rid of these headsets, but I'll do whatever needs to be done. And I do like that we have more participation, especially from students when we use Zoom, or I don't know if they would actually call in because no one uses their phones for that. But I think it's wait on PCTV, see what they can do for us. Yeah, bring it back. But for now, I think this is it. Okay, any other comments? Nothing. Okay, cool.
Actually,
Okay, Mr. Archipenti.
yeah, I have the question. So, President Tata, you mentioned that this is it for now. I mean, that was my question. Are we just going to maintain this at the minimum, Zoom and YouTube, for the time being in terms of or are we looking to alter that in terms of change it? So I would think we would maintain Zoom and YouTube as we are now, Room and Zoom, and then we would add to it in terms of broadcasting. Am I correct in that, asking that?
We will do what we're doing right now, and we will explore other options and revisit. That's my understanding. Yeah, so it may be what you're suggesting, but but we don't. But
or Superintendent Preston.
What's that?
I would say there's a question for Superintendent Preston or maybe Mr. Meyer, and in terms of what the initial thinking for is right now in terms of maintain this and add to it, or are we looking to not do some of these things later?
Well, I think that oh God. What we just discussed was we had a long discussion about what the options are. So we haven't come up with anything. Mr. Meyer was waiting on a proposal from PCTV. Ms. Casey may talk to, or we might, Ms. Baca might talk to any teachers who have been able to make something work in their classrooms, so that we won't use headsets, but it's all on the table right now. So no decisions are being made except that probably the next meeting we have, it'll be just like this.
Yeah, so we're not making any changes, Trustee Archipenti. We're going to keep doing this, but we wanted to talk with you to see what your desire was as a board. I know we've heard, as you've heard multiple times tonight, it's very hard to be in this room and hear the echo and hear the person and have it on your head. You know, it's difficult. So we would, you know, knew that that was something that we wanted to look at. We also had talked about the fact, you know, as I said, that we've had increased participation, so that if a longer term, we might want to keep doing that. So just bringing these ideas up, and we, you know, we haven't made any decisions yet. So we'll find out what Mr. Meyer finds out. We will talk. I was with Miss Casey in some of those rooms where teachers have figured out some really ingenious ways of kind of getting around some of these barriers. And so we'll just bring it back next month. Ms. Baca, did you want to add?
Yes, thank you. So what Mr. Meyer and I are thinking, we have a board meeting on May 11th, and it will be for the approval of the MOU that we may test it out using the phone. So that's our plan.
Yeah, that's a good meeting to do a test.
Yeah,
Cool.
I was just gonna say, I know no decisions are being made, but I just was curious about people's thoughts and on YouTube and Zoom and as a minimum, but I'll wait for the next meeting. It's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're moving on to the review of board bylaws. So, like I said at the beginning of the meeting, I felt that it was important for us all, since we haven't had a governance workshop in a while, and that things have come up in our discussions, that we go over a few of the board bylaws that are in the board bylaws in the 9000s. So Ms. Presta had just picked the synopsis, I believe, just of the very first paragraph of each board bylaw. And so board bylaw 9000, the role of the board. So the Board of Trustees has been elected by the community, as a reminder, to provide leadership and citizen oversight of the district. The board shall ensure that the district is responsive to the values, beliefs, and priorities of the community. And then what I also have noticed there's the attachment, you can click on it and you can read along, but in section 3 of that, it also includes providing support to the superintendent and staff as they carry out the board's direction by establishing and adhering to standards of responsible governance, making decisions, providing resources that support district priorities and goals, and being knowledgeable about district programs and efforts in order to serve as effective spokespersons. And I know for me that being knowledgeable about district programs, I really have to work at, because I never know when a parent or a student is going to ask me something, and I want to be sure I have the right information. And if I don't, I'll say, you know what, I'm not quite sure, but let me get that information for you, because I never want to, you know, accidentally say something that isn't true. So then we go on to anybody have a question about that, or just jump in as discussion? Okay, so board bylaw 9005, this is on governance standards. And I don't have to read that whole thing. Oh, okay. Let's see. Oh, Mr. Ochapinti.
Yeah, so not to interrupt, you just asked if you want to jump in. I was just going to ask, did you want to read all of these bylaws first, or are we discussing them one by one?
I think one by one as I'm going along.
Okay, so is there, I have to ask, so these bylaws are on this agenda. We've approved these bylaws. They are part of board policy. Dr. Delory,
Yes.
for years, we've approved, right, like the entire series. if we want to discuss these one by one, I'm trying to ask what the context is for these laws and what we want the public to know as we're discussing these, or are we discussing them as a whole?
Well, you certainly can go to Gamut online and look up the entire 9,000 series. But I think that based on our discussions recently that have been very spirited, I would say there have been questions about what the role of the board is, questions of governance you have brought up yourself, public statements, actions by the board, and meeting procedures. And that is something I need to work on as president. But so I thought that if we went through these few, you know, if anybody's been watching our board meetings, they'll follow along why we're bringing this up now. And then they could also check out the entire 9,000 series. Is your hand still raised, or you have another
I just want to let
question?
you know, I will hold my comments to the end of all these, or
Okay.
they're covered, and so that way I can address it as a whole, because I don't know exactly where this is going based on prior meetings, but I have raised it. You're right, and I do would like to discuss governance. I think that's very important.
Yeah.
We did discuss it at our last meeting, the board LCAP meeting we had on Saturday. But yeah,
okay.
Let's hear the rest. Thank you.
Yeah, just wait. So, Board Bylaw 9005, this is riveting. Governance standards. So the Board of Trustees believes that its primary responsibility is to act in the best interests of every student in the district. The board also has major commitments to parents and guardians, all members of the community, employees, the state of California, laws pertaining to public education, and establish policies of the district to maximize board effectiveness and public confidence in district governance. Board members are expected to govern responsibly and hold themselves to the highest standards of ethical conduct. There's also a section, the board expects its members to work with each other and the superintendent to ensure that a high quality education is provided to each student. Each individual board member shall, and I've only highlighted a few, recognize and respect differences of perspective and style on the board and among staff, students, parents, and the community, act with dignity and understand the implications of demeanor and behavior, keep confidential matters confidential, participate in professional development and commit the time and energy necessary to be informed and an effective leader, understand that authority rests with the board as a whole and not with individuals. Board members also shall assume collective responsibility for building unity and creating a positive organizational culture. To operate effectively, the board shall have a unity of purpose, keep the district focused on learning and achievement for all students, communicate a common vision, operate openly with trust and integrity, govern in a dignified and professional manner, treating everyone with civility and respect, govern within board-adopted policies and procedures, take collective responsibility for the board's performance, periodically evaluate its own effectiveness, and ensure opportunities for the diverse range of views in the community to inform board deliberations. Board Bylaw 9010, public statements. The Board of Trustees recognizes the responsibility of board members in the role as community leaders to participate in public discourse on matters of civil or community interest, including those involving the district, and their right to freely express their personal views. However, to ensure communication of a consistent, unified message regarding district issues, Board members are expected to respect the authority of the board to choose its representatives, to communicate its positions, and to abide by established protocols. All public statements authorized to be made on behalf of the board shall be made by the board president, or if appropriate, by the superintendent or other designated representative. When speaking for the district, the board encourages its spokespersons to exercise restraint and tact and to communicate the message in a manner that promotes public confidence in the board's leadership. Board spokespersons shall not disclose confidential information or information received in closed session, except when authorized by a majority of the board. When speaking to community groups, members of the public, or the media, individual board members should recognize that their statements may be perceived as reflecting the views and positions of the board. Board members have a responsibility to identify personal viewpoints as such, and not as the viewpoint of the board. What is that one? 23. Okay, for board bylaw, I'm going to go with 9323, meeting procedures. All Board of Trustees meetings shall begin on time and shall be guided by an agenda prepared in accordance with board bylaws and posted and distributed in accordance with the Ralph M. Brown Act, open meeting requirements, and other applicable laws. The board president shall conduct board meetings in accordance with board bylaws and procedures that enable the board to efficiently consider issues and carry out the will of the majority. This is me picking out stuff. So now we're on to board bylaw 9323.2, actions by the board. The Board of Trustees shall act by a majority vote of all of the membership constituting the board, unless otherwise required by law. And that is all I have. So does anyone have questions or comments about any of these board bylaws? Okay, Mr. Ochapinti.
Yeah, I just want to say, I'd like to speak towards the end of this item. I would like to hear from the other trustees first. I don't know the exact reasons for these select bylaws being brought to the board meeting, but I think they're relevant in some way. So I'd love to comment on them, but I'd love to hear input from the other trustees first.
Do any other trustees have input? I don't think so. So what would you like to comment on, Mr. Ochapinti?
Well, yeah, I mean, if nobody has anything to say, then I was still encouraging to speak, but I'll speak. One, I think all of our board policy is always relevant, right? I think in terms of governance, we should be observing best practices as professionals, as people, and of course, with respect to our oath and our public office, politically with those ethics as well. So I think these are board policies that we've adopted as a board with the recommendation of many former board members and former educational professionals who work within the California School Board Association. For those who are not familiar with that, CSBA is an advocacy organization, nonprofit that guides a lot of policy work in education statewide, does a lot of lobbying and does a lot of work around policy in terms of support for school districts. And so per CSBA's recommendations that many districts, including ours, have adopted in this entire series of board policies, I think first off that presenting some of these issues is always important to discuss. If people feel like we need to do, an episode of board policy per meeting, we did that for about 3 years with Dr. Deloria. And so I would encourage folks to look back at the videos where we did discuss many of these things to some extent. And of course, we can always continue to do so. As I'm saying, they're always relevant. Secondly, I would say with respect to policy, ethics and professionalism, I think, are of the highest order in terms of understanding what we're doing in terms of our job as public officials. Without, commenting on anything specific, I think in general, when we're looking at policy and our role as public officials, there are two important things to take into account. That we are individuals who are elected by our constituents and of course the community, and that we should be acting with respect to leadership in those in the public interest, first and foremost. And secondly, that we are individuals who provide leadership for our community. So we should speak for ourselves, first and foremost. And secondly, we should not be speaking for other trustees. We should not be speaking on behalf of the board as a whole. And we should make sure that's accurately represented in our votes, on our agendas, in our minutes, and at other meetings. And so, without going too much into, I do want to hear from other trustees because apparently this has been brought to the agenda through you, President Tejada, and Vice President Lee, and Superintendent Presta. And so I would like maybe at least to hear from you all, you three, maybe what you want to drive at in terms of clarifying things.
You know what? I'm just going to leave it here because the other board members have not said they want to say anything.
Okay.
You know, what we did say before, if not at the last meeting, a meeting before, it was, and you had brought up governance. And we all, because of what transpired, you know, we all felt, I mean, it was evident to me that we needed something. We needed something. And that I saw your appearance at the city council meeting, and like you just said now, we do not speak on behalf of the board when we're saying our personal views, and that is in violation of our board bylaw. So we have said that we need to, we should have a governance, you know, intensive governance workshop this summer, but it was evident to me that we needed something before then. And that's why we brought this before. In agenda planning, you know, and Ms. Pressa said, well, why don't we go over the board bylaws? Because those are the rules that govern our board. So I'm just going to leave it there.
Okay, thank you for that. I will say, I do agree with you. We absolutely do need to go through as a board, more governance training. I have several concerns in mind. I didn't make the agenda, so I have no, you know, saying what showed up on this agenda, though I do agree that many of these are relevant policies. I will say too, in my defense, and I addressed this actually this Saturday's meeting. I did not see the meeting posted online on YouTube, so I'd like to see that meeting posted as soon as possible. So people can see some of my comments there. I won't repeat them tonight, but I will say this, in reference to what you just mentioned, is that the city council meeting, I actually explicitly stated that I was not speaking for the board. I was speaking because I was the only trustee to oppose this. That I was speaking in the interest of the public interest, which I represent. In my opinions, those are the ones that I put forward. And that was very clear. I was asked whether I was there representing myself as a community member or a public official, basically as an elected trustee. I can represent myself and who I am in my voice. Be it, you know, for the fact that we have First Amendment rights, or be it for the fact that we are elected, all of us, and take that oath. And so for me, when I reference certain things, for example, at the city council meeting, that was addressing the Serramonte project, the expanded project, not the faculty and staff housing project.
Yes.
But I spoke on my behalf, and that was very clear. If you watch the video, you'll gather that. And I'm very, very clear about my role as a board member. I respect everybody else's voice. And so when we say acting as a whole or respecting the authority, I'm not a spokesperson for the entire board. And I never asserted that, and I never will, because I believe in democracy and that we all have a voice to share. And so in respecting diverse viewpoints, and like you're saying, without going into it at length, I will challenge, you're saying I'm violating board policy. I can point out violations of board policy I believe other board members have made. But I think in the interest of amending and restoring the space to create more integrity in our board, that I'd like to have a discussion where everybody's a part of that and addresses their own role and responsibility in that. And so just to clarify my role, and if that was unclear, I'm sorry people misinterpreted that, but if you watch the city council video, you will hear me word for word describe exactly my role and my representing my own views as a board member, but not on behalf of the board.
So I will say, I think I hear you, but I think it was confusing. As you heard from the public comments tonight, it was confusing. And I think part of the confusion came from when you, at any municipality, when you're there in just of public, speaking as a member of the public, you only speak once. You don't speak again. So that's at any meeting. When you give, during the public comment section, you give your public comment. Then the council was asking questions to the people who were there representing each entity. So when I went to answer the question, you as a member of the public should not have spoken during that time. I mean, any normal regular of the public, any normal member of the public doing that part where, you know, we've done that here, where we have clarifying questions and we're asking people who are there representing the entity. So she said, Jocelyn said, can someone from the district explain to me? So that means someone there representing the district. When you answered that question, I think that's where the confusion came in, because it sounded like you were answering the question as a member of the district.
I'll just go ahead and respond. So to clarify, Trustee Saladin, when the question was asked by Mayor Manalo, it was to ask about the input from the trustee who is in disagreement. That was specifically referencing me. So I specifically responded because I was called on for that information. I just want to just reiterate too, what I spoke on and what I speak on here when I reference these things is largely because I have not been provided information on these items. As public officials, it's our primary responsibility to make informed decisions, but we cannot do that without information. And the public has a right to know that public information as well. And so what I disclosed at the meeting, I think actually is more important than maybe like some of the nuances in what I was talking about. Maybe some of the things that concern people, but we'll talk about that when it's agendized on this at a future meeting. And if we want to talk about it again, we can put it as a future agenda item. But in reference to board policy, which is this item, I believe, one, that if it came off confusing, then my apologies if it came off confusing. Absolutely, we should be clear. But I want to make it clear that when I'm speaking, and as I've always stated, and I state this explicitly, is I'm speaking as a public official and as a representative of our community, and many people who do agree with me, who have concerns as well. So I absolutely respect that, and both of our input at the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, I could respond, but that means it'll just keep going round and round and round. So because just for me, even as a parent of a child in this district, I'm aware, I'm a board member, that anything I say could be taken as this is how the board feels. So I'm always aware of that. I was taught that at the very beginning when I joined the board. So I'm always mindful of that. We will, you know, there are a lot of things that we can discuss later, and we can bring it up in agenda later on when we ask for future agenda items. And I understand that we're going to be adding something in the future regarding the Serramonte Del Rey project. Okay, so now on to action items. Item 15A, Human Resources. It's Miss Lujan. Is that going to be you? What's that? Miss Basuino.
Good evening, President Tejada, members of the board, Baby Yoda. Tonight, we bring you Resolution 2020-2021-29, Alternative Education Code Assignment Option. Education Code 44263 states that a teacher licensed pursuant to the provisions of this article may be assigned with his or her consent to teach a single subject class in which he or she has 18 semester hours of undergraduate coursework. This resolution provides authorization for 1 year and may be renewed annually. It is recommended that the board approve Resolution 2020-2021/29, Alternative Education Code Assignment Option.
Move to approve resolution 2020/2021/29.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 15A2, side letter of agreement, stipend payment.
Good evening again. Side letter agreement provides stipend payment to members of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, Local Unit 856, equal to what was provided to the employees represented by AFT 1481. It is recommended the board approve the stipend payment side letter agreement between JUHSD and the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, Local Unit 856.
Move that we approve the side letter of agreement for stipend of payment for the International Brotherhood of Teamsters Local 856.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
15A3, declaration of need for fully qualified educators 2021-2022.
Unmute myself. Occasionally, it is necessary to assign teachers to instruct in subjects that are not authorized by the credential. The California Commission on Teachers Credentialing understands these needs and provides alternatives to districts that will allow these assignments. Title V of the California Code of Regulations, Section 80026 and California Education Code 44300B requires that the Board of Education adopt a declaration of need for fully qualified educators prior to the issuance of emergency permits and limited assignment permits for the 2021-2022 school year. The administration recommends the Board of Trustees approve the declaration of need for fully qualified educators for the 2021-22 school year.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Business services resolution. I'm going to just give it to Ms.
Can I ask a point of order on this?
Uh-huh.
These are normally items that would be on consent, correct? No? Because they're, no, because the first one is a resolution.
Good question, Trustee Salahuddin. These items that I am bringing here are not on consent because they have a resolution involved.
Okay.
And the resolutions are typically not brought on consent.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
So I will jump in. Did you want to announce the, okay. So good evening, President Tejada, trustees. I have a number of fairly standard items tonight, and I did want to go briefly through them because you've had a chance to look at them, and I haven't received any questions ahead of time, but of course, if you have any questions tonight. So the first item I have is resolution 2020/21-28, which is our annual maintenance assessment district resolution that provides for a notice of public hearing that will happen on June 1st. It's a series of steps we have to take to keep the money coming in from our maintenance assessment district, which accounts for about $360,000 per year.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second.
All in favor of both resolutions?
Aye.
Okay. Reject all bids for painting Westmore High School gym.
Okay, so the next slate of items are all related to the Westmore High School renovation project. So I did want to acknowledge that Ms. Phillips is here today, our Director of Construction, in case there are any questions. And thank you so much, Ms. Phillips, for sticking around. So the original plan for Westmore High School project included a scope of work for applying acoustical treatment to the gym. As you have all been in presentations in the gym and you've heard the echoes and how hard it is to have a presentation there. So, but the first acoustical treatment that was planned was determined not to be appropriate. So we were given a credit for that scope of work. A different acoustical treatment, which is actually a fireproofing spray, is now going to be applied, but it requires some painting be done ahead of time. So the painting and the fireproofing together are under the cost of that credit that we were given. So it's no new cost, but we do, because the painter that provided the lowest bid is one of our current contractors, and this new scope of work would be outside of a change order allowance. We have to go through this process of rejecting all bids, then adopting a resolution that allows a larger change order, and then approving the change order. And so that's why typically most of our construction stuff comes on consent, but this has to come in action because it's this more formal process. So this first item is to reject all the bids so that we can hire the people we've already hired.
You have a motion? Any questions? Oh, what? No questions? Oh, hold on. Mr. Ochapinti? Sorry, I didn't see your hand up.
No worries. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Van Rathhorst. I guess my question would be, with the bidding process, maybe you can walk us through just a second. This normally would go through a bidding process, but we're taking action here to cancel the bidding process and just approve somebody who's already doing work for us. Would
Not
they?
exactly true. Just let me
I'm just
say,
asking.
we
Okay, yeah.
did do the bidding process, and the lowest bidder is a current contractor. And so we can't just give them that bid because they already work for us. So we have to do a change order. And the change order is too large because you're only allowed to change order 10 to 15%, depending on the type of contract. And so I think this one's a 10% one. So since it's larger than a 10% change order, it has to go through this, but it is the bidding process. You just have to reject all bids and do this because they currently already are on the job. But it is the lowest bidder.
Got it. And I know Ms. Phillips also might have some input. I guess my question would be, would these bidders, are they being informed, the ones who put the higher bids or whatever, would they be informed that they can always put in a lower bid if they want to? Is that part of the process?
No. They submitted a public bid. That bid was open publicly, and it was a lot higher than what Valdez number was. So
the bidding process isn't a recursive process. It's just a one-time thing. People
Right.
bid and then it's done.
Right.
You can't go back and say, do you want to underbid? Do you want to underbid? Like, that's not the way it works.
yeah, you can't shop it.
Right, that's my question is, so this is just to allow for the lowest bid because they're excluded because they're a current contractor, that they have to go through this process instead. Is that correct?
It's they aren't going through a different process. We're going through a different process. But yes, you're correct. It's because we already employ
Right.
them on this job.
Right, okay, that was my question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Move to approve or move to reject the bids.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Okay, so then the
resolution.
second step in this process,
Okay.
the next item is Resolution 2020/21-30, declaring allowing us to approve a change order.
Okay,
So moved.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And then the last step in this one is to approve the change order. And this is the one that has the cost attached, $127,399 will be the not to exceed amount to be paid with bond funds. And again, this is within the amount that we were credited.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
All right, the next one is exactly the same process, but for a different scope of work. Our architects left off some of the finished carpentry, a small amount of finished carpentry that we needed to bid separately because it wasn't included in the original bids. The lowest responsible bidder was the carpenter that's currently working on the project. The change order is larger than is allowable. So the first step is to reject all bids.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then the next step is resolution 2020/21-31 to approve the possible, or whatever, to allow us to approve a change order.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then lastly, approving the change order not to exceed $68,755 to be paid with bond funds.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Girl, that was a marathon. Thank you.
I know. Thank you, Ms. Phillips, for sticking around and for finding that lower amount for us,
We love you.
saving us some money.
We-
Thank you. And now I'm going to send this over to Ms. Presta, resolution for Employee Appreciation Month.
Thank you. Thank you, President Tejada. So I referenced this earlier tonight. We have a resolution before you, Resolution 2020. Oh, nope, I'm in the wrong spot. Sorry, 15C. About to read the wrong one. Okay. Resolution 2020-2021/32 for Employee Appreciation Month. So this resolution is to acknowledge and show appreciation to all staff of the Jefferson Union High School District during the month of May. We're lucky to have such a caring, dedicated, and talented staff in JUHSD. We honor, respect, and thank them for their unwavering service to our community. And the resolution, I don't want to read all of it because it is a long night, but I do want to make sure that we spend a little time on this happy note of really appreciating our people. So I'm going to read a bit of it if that's okay. So whereas every student has the right to access high quality educational programs to further their academic and personal success, and whereas quality educational programs are only made possible thanks to the dedicated, talented, innovative, and hardworking educators and classified staff at Jefferson Union High School District, who use their extensive skill and compassion to provide individualized educational opportunities and supports for students. I guess I am reading it. And whereas Jefferson Union High School District Board of Education acknowledges the challenges faced by our educators, staff, students, and families during the current pandemic that has forced schools to provide instruction through distance learning. And whereas our educators, staff, and administrators have taken on the role of essential workers to make it possible for students to continue to learn during this uncertain and stressful time. And whereas Jefferson Union High School District Board of Education recognizes our staff has gone above and beyond in responding to the needs of students and their families and the community at large. And whereas Jefferson Union High School District Board of Education believes that our employees' response in serving children during these challenging times serves as an example of selfless public service and pride in our community. And whereas now, more than ever, teachers, administrators, and classified staff serving our schools now more than ever deserve the gratitude, respect, and recognition of the Jefferson Union High School District Board of Education, students, parents, and the entire community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that in celebration of our teachers during National Teacher Appreciation Week, May 3rd to 7th, National Teacher Appreciation Day, May 4th, today, and California Day of the Teacher, Wednesday, May 12th, as well as our classified employees during Classified School Employees Appreciation Week, which is May 17th to the 21st, and all of our administrative staff, the governing board of the Jefferson Union High School District proudly declares the whole month of May 2021 as Employee Appreciation Month. In making this declaration, the board honors all Jefferson Union District staff for dedicating their lives to promoting the success of our children and community.
I'm unmuting. Okay.
So it is our recommendation that the board approve this resolution.
All right. We have a motion.
So I just want to say really quickly too,
Yes.
that resolutions are great, but our actions speak louder than our words.
Mhm.
So I would just encourage all of us to act in the manner that supports this resolution and supports all of our educational staff members in JUHSD. So yes, so with that, I have a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Consideration of future agenda items.
I have one. So I don't, this is no pressure to come, but I think we should agendize Monday, the 17th is our last student advisory, student trustee meeting. So if we could make that a board meeting to, as well, Candace, so that all the board members can come, just to give them a send off and to thank them for their service. So to have our regular board meeting on the 18th, but also just make the 17th a board meeting. So any board trustee, any of us can go to that meeting, on the student advisory meeting. So yeah, just so they can go. So otherwise only Rosie and I can go. But if we make that a board meeting, then anybody can come. And just so, because I don't want to force them to meet on the 17th and then come to the meeting on the 18th, so we can give them a send off. That'd just be great, because they also more of the student advisory members. There's a lot of them that have been coming to the meetings the whole year. So
okay. But we'll still hold our regular meeting on the 18th.
yeah, still hold a regular meeting on it, just making the student advisory meeting
A special board
a
meeting.
special board meeting, so that any board member that wants to attend can come.
Awesome. And then I understand we wanted to have a Serramonte Del Rey presentation.
Yeah. Yes, I think we
And then-
wanted to plan on
on the plan.
5/18. Yep.
Yeah, because we've been Mr. Ocha, what's that? Yeah, an update, and then for Serramonte Del Rey, and then that'll be open to the community to like any other board meeting. But we'll just have it all out there. So we'll put that at a future agenda item. Okay. Anything else? Is he? Okay. Mr. Ochapinti?
Yeah, just to add to that, yeah, if Vice President Lee is placing on the agenda, I know that
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Yeah.
We can hear you. I don't know.
Okay, my sound was down.
It's okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I know at a prior meeting, it was encouraged to hold another community meeting, given that we don't know what the community input was, those who were in attendance at the December meeting regarding the Serramonte Del Rey project. The information I've received is as limited as anybody's maybe, but it was suggested that we hold another community meeting. I still think that's a good idea, though I do think it would be a good idea to place it on a regular board meeting. And so that's a good idea.
That's what we just said.
No, that's
Right.
not what we
No?
said. This is two completely different things.
Okay.
So we are having an update at the board meeting.
Okay.
If
an
we want to
update.
have another community meeting, what we said was, if you want to organize that community meeting, go ahead and organize it, and then we'll come and present.
Right, that's what I was saying. So what I'm saying is, per the suggestion last time, one of my concerns and considerations was that as we're moving through the year, we have graduations. This is the final month of the year, and moving through into hybrid learning with respect to our district, our district community. This is obviously an issue of significance, although I don't think it's a board priority. At least personally, I'll speak for myself. I don't know that it aligns with our LCAP and our board goals stated prior to, I guess, us moving on this, but it has been on many agendas. And I do think it should be considered and discussed with the public. So if it's an update, I welcome that. Absolutely. I just want to make sure that we're making sure our priorities are aligned with what we should be looking at this month of May. I did suggest other ones prior.
Right. I completely agree with you. I
Yeah.
completely agree. And so I think that the way this lines up with our LCAP is that there is no LCAP if we don't have educational staff. And the way that we fulfill the LCAP is ensuring, as Ms. Casey said earlier, folks are quitting because their pay isn't high enough. And the only reason why we're moving forward with this is that we're trying to, we're not going to get any more outside money from the state. We're not going to be able to pass, we already have 2 parcel taxes. We're not going to be able to pass another parcel tax. So we need to find another way to raise funds. This is how we're raising funds, is absolutely in line with the LCAP to support our staff. And so again, what I will say is what we said before is that a community meeting is not a board meeting. We can't have back and forth in a board meeting. They can only talk once, they're done. But if we want to have what you have constantly said has not happened, won't happen at a board meeting. We need to have a community meeting. So if you would like to have that community meeting, you didn't like what the district office did. You felt that they weren't successful in getting the staff in. I mean, getting enough people from the community in. We had multiple community meetings. You were not happy with the level of participation. So I'm saying, fine, go ahead and do it yourself. Get those community members that you feel are concerned, like get enough of them in there to where it's a number that you feel you're comfortable with, and we'll come and talk to them and present.
Okay, just to respond to that, thank you for providing some more clarity on what you're looking for. First of all, I do appreciate the suggestion. Not to belabor the point, this is a future agenda item. We're just talking about whether or not it should be on the agenda. So I agree, sure, put it on the agenda. My concern is that in terms of prioritizing things during the month of May, I did ask for, like, say, ethnic studies to have an update, but of course, with the understanding that we have so many things going on that if the staff or our district feels like they can present on that during the month of May, great. If they feel like there's a lot, then maybe in June, right? But I mean, if Vice President Lee wants to provide an update, one of the things I have been concerned about was a lack of information. So I absolutely welcome that at all times. But secondly, too, it's not about me and my comfort levels. I'm not the only person in the community that does not know much about this. And so I can't even tell people much about it because I haven't received some information that I've been requesting. And furthermore, I feel like as we discuss it more, we just make sure that we're prioritizing it on a timeline that allows our district to conduct its primary, goals and priorities, which revolve around students and our faculty.
Quick question, what information are you waiting for that you haven't been provided?
Any information that the facility subcommittee has had in communications, any correspondence with the.
So what specifically though, what are you missing?
I don't even know what I'm missing in specific because I don't know what kind of information the facility subcommittee.
Okay, this facility.
But this is not on the
right,
agenda.
I got it.
We
So
should
we've
discuss
given
this at the update. We should discuss this if agenda. Sorry, I don't mean.
Okay, no, but I'm just.
Yeah.
One at a time, please.
Right, I'm just saying that we've given you, as a member of the facility subcommittee, I know everything that I've received, and I know everything that the entire board has received because I get both. I have not received anything as a facility subcommittee member that you have not received as a board member. Everything I've gotten, you have gotten. The only thing that you don't have, that you didn't know, was at the subcommittee meeting, when we had our breakout sessions. Anybody that does Zoom knows that you can't record the breakout sessions. It's impossible. So that's the only thing that you don't have, is that what was said in those breakout sessions, but you have every other piece of information. If there's something that you feel like you don't have and you can be specific, we could give that to you. But in the breakout meetings, minutes were taken and that was shared with you. So again, if you would like to have a community meeting, like I said, I'm all about the community meetings. Just like when I wanted to have a town hall, as I said before, I organized it and the staff showed up. So if you want to have another town hall on this, go ahead and organize it and the staff will show up.
Okay, well, thanks for the suggestion. I just want to also note too that as public officials, as board trustees, that's not really within the scope of our job duties, but I'm
absolutely in the scope.
Hold on, let me finish. Is that to organize a community meeting and to take that on and to organize that, to do the footwork on that. We have district staff who do that, who did that last time and put out a huge effort, which I do.
We already did, they already did it.
That's right.
Let me finish.
And you weren't.
Finish this. No, what I'm saying is it's within the scope of the duties. And I actually asked to be at the meeting, but I could not per your recommendation because there were already 2 trustees there.
The violation of the Brown Act.
Right, so I did not attend it. However, what I'm saying is that this is an important issue. I look forward to discussing it. I look forward to any and all information in future requests. I don't have anything specific because I don't know what to ask for exactly that the facility subcommittee has seen. And if you're telling me now that the only information you've seen is only things that have been publicly posted to our YouTube or online, that's one thing. But my concern is that we discussed it, but with precedence to the other priorities in our district during at least the month of May as we're getting through COVID-19 and hybrid learning. So those are my concerns. Those
Okay.
are primary priorities. Yeah.
Right. So we're going around in circles. I think we've settled. It's totally within your scope, just like every legislator has like a town hall, like a town hall, but they call it something else. They call it like coffee with so-and-so or donuts with so-and-so. Those are town halls. So it's absolutely within your purview to hold a town hall, just like I did. And I wanted additional help, so I asked staff to come, and they did. So if you want to have an additional community meeting on this build out, go ahead and organize it, and the staff will come.
And if I may, real quick, we'll having the update on May 18th will actually give all 5 of us all the info that's necessary, which will help you organize your community meeting that can occur sometime after the school year is over. So,
exactly.
Thank you for that, Vice President Lee and Trustee Sullivan. Yeah, I will say this. This is an important issue. Absolutely, coffee with a trustee, right? Office hours. I think that's important on an issue like this where public input and community input is a part of the approval process and part of land use planning. I take it at a higher degree, and so entrusting that process to our district last time, I approached it the same way I would have last time, and with inclusion of everybody as part of that process. So certainly wouldn't be just my undertaking. I want more people to be involved in that. So I will look to that. But yeah, I look forward to discussing this next meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Right, but there will be no discussion on another community meeting because that's decided. So just so we're clear.
So we're clear. We'll talk about it at the next meeting, the update, right? So that's what I'm saying.
We're not talking. The update is only to update us on the project. It's not to do another community meeting. So if you want another community meeting, go ahead and organize. We're not discussing this anymore because we've settled on just the whole board has agreed that if you want to do another one, you're doing it.
Okay. I look forward to discussing this at the next meeting.
We're not discussing it at the next meeting.
No,
So
the issue of Serramonte Del Rey as a project.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
Great.
fine.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Oh, you know what? It's 10:29. Okay, my son is waiting for me. So tonight we're going to adjourn our meeting in honor of 2 persons. Jefferson High School class of 2014 graduate, Obed Oriana, passed away on April 20th, 2021 in a tragic car accident. He had just celebrated his 25th birthday on February 13th, 2021. Obed was someone who was full of joy and could easily uplift you with his smile and his words. He was a loving and supportive son who always wanted to help his family in any way he could. He was a hardworking, charismatic, and beautiful soul. We, the Jefferson Union High School District Board of Trustees, send our condolences to the Oriana family, along with their friends and host of loved ones. Retired JUHSD employee Bianca Rado Caserza passed away Friday, April 9, 2021. She was born in Stella San Martino, Italy, and migrated to the United States in 1928 when she was 25 months old. She is a graduate of Jefferson Elementary School, Jefferson High School, and the University of California, Berkeley, class of 1947. She earned her MA in Italian in 1950 and later her library science certificate from San Jose State University. Bianca was a proud retiree of the Jefferson Union High School District, retired in 1981, where she worked as an English teacher at Jefferson High, librarian at Jefferson, Westmore, and Terra Nova, and a substitute teacher. During her retirement, she traveled with her husband, Louis, deceased, and daughters served as a member of the Italian Catholic Federation Branch 19, president of the Holy Angels Women's Guild, served on the Daly City Library Board of Trustees, and many more organizations. We, the Jefferson Union High School District, send our condolences to her daughters, the Caserza family, and a host of friends and loved ones. With that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Meeting adjourned at 10:31.